situation, no matter.
Link between the outage in Mumbai.
人为心之根系，乃心之刚。兄子修其身，是安百姓养。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。其所不欲者，是无事于他人。水而思之兮，不亦明乎？思而学之兮，免于殆矣。有朋之远兮，冷漠大洋。人不知而无怨兮，君子之福。知之为知兮，为之为不争。失之也兮，圣人之教。为争于列兮，别争有其所。雄心共之兮，民心自负。立业切之兮，为何之？中庸之道兮，天下之至德。今人之迷兮，不常看之。小人反是兮，君子所为。人为心之根系，乃心之刚。兄子修其身，是安百姓养。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。其所不欲者，是无事于他人。水而思之兮，不亦明乎？思而学之兮，免于殆矣。有朋之远兮，冷漠大洋。人不知而无怨兮，君子之福。知之为知兮，为之为不争。失之也兮，圣人之教。为争于列兮，别争有其所。雄心共之兮，民心自负。立业切之兮，为何之？中庸之道兮，天下之至德。今人之迷兮，不常看之。小人反是兮，君子所为。 人为心之根，其余乃心之刚。兄子修其身，是以安百姓养。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。其所不欲者，是无事于他人。学而思之，奚不以明乎？思而学之，奚免于殆矣。有朋之远兮，冷漠大言，人不知而无怨兮，君子之福。为正于列兮，别正有其所。雄心共之兮，民心自负。礼乐切之兮，为何之？中庸之道兮，天下之至德。今人之迷兮，不诚恳之人。小人反是兮，君子所为。人为心之根，其余乃心之刚。兄子修其身，是以安百姓养。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。其所不欲者，是无事于他人。学而思之，奚不以明乎？思而学之，奚免于殆矣。有朋之远兮，冷漠大言，人不知而无怨兮，君子之福。 命心自负，立业且知悉为何之？中庸之道系天下之至德，今人之迷兮不常看之人，小人凡事兮君子所为。人为心之根系，乃心之刚。兄子修其身，是安百姓养。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。其所不欲者，是无事于他人。水而思之兮，不亦明乎？思而学之兮，免有殆矣。有朋之远兮，冷漠大洋。人不知而无用兮，君子之福。知之为知兮，为之为不知。失之有也兮，圣人之教。为政于列兮，别政有其所。雄心共之兮，命心自负。立业且知悉为何之？中庸之道系天下之至德，今人之迷兮不常看之人，小人凡事兮君子所为。人为心之根系，乃心之刚。兄子修其身，是安百姓养。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。其所不欲者，是无事于他人。水而思之兮，不亦明乎？思而学之兮，免有殆矣。
And we're live.
Hey, and welcome back to the Analects, digital apparatus. I am Desperado Sensei, and these are my colleagues.
Jack.
And Income.
And we are coming together to basically discuss the Analects and give a full, a better, more nuanced understanding of what's going on within the Analects. And today we're going to be doing book 2. And we're going to go over terms again because these terms are very important. And I know most people's eyes would glaze over just going over them 2 or 3 times. But it's very important that we just remember these because they're used constantly. And another thing to keep in mind is that you will notice that there's a 4th person here, or a 4th person present with us here, but they are present with us in spirit. This is the late, great Aikau Rich, who had passed away back in November. And he will remain with us during the Analects, and he will remain with us as long as we continue doing this apparatus.
Okay, so I'm just going to have to smack you and remind you that your Kansas just came out. The Analects, the first time you said Analects, you said it with an A instead of an E. Yeah, your Kansas came out for just a second. Sorry, I couldn't resist. When I heard it, the grin came out, and I'm like, oh no. Oh no.
All right. Well, with the Analects, we have a few key terms that we have to go over here. And we spent a long time going over these keywords before. We're going to try and do a short version so we can get directly into the book.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, so I'll just take the first couple here real quick since he just gave us the intro. Ren, a comprehensive ethical framework, or ethical virtue, benevolence, humaneness, goodness. The term is so problematic that many Analects passages show disciples trying to pin Confucius down on its meaning. He escapes being pinned down. And I will add, for good reason. Junzi, often used to denote an ideally ethical and capable person, sometimes simply meaning a power holder, which is its original sense. Originally means prince. Dao, a teaching or skill formula that is key to some arena of action, an art, self-perfection, world transformation. Ancom, would you like to pick up at Lee?
Sure. The ritual...
Sorry, I'm springing this on my co-host quickly.
All good. It was just I had to zoom in to actually read it. The ritual institutions of the Zhou of which Confucius was master. The range of behavior subject to the broad category denoted by this term ranges from political protocol to court ceremony, religious rite to village festival, daily etiquette to disciplines of personal conduct would alone.
Yeah, keep going.
Go ahead and grab the next. Go ahead and grab the next 3.
Cool.
Come here, Bumpers. Oh.
Let me just do this on my screen so it's a little easier for me to read. 1 sec. All right. Then we have Chan. Carrying the basic meaning of sky, Chun becomes a concept of supreme deity, often translated as heaven, sometimes possessing clear anthropomorphic features, sometimes appearing a more natural force. In addition to these items, other complex key terms are rendered by very vague English words, the meaning of which can only emerge as contextual usage is noted. Virtue, or de, a very complex concept initially related to the notion of charisma derived from power and gift-giving, developing into an ethical term denoting self-possession and orientation toward moral action. And then pattern, or wen, denoting a relation to features of civilization that are distinctive to Zhao culture or in traditions ancestral to the Zhao. Wen can refer to decoration, written text, and personal conduct, but most importantly, it points to the behavioral matrix underlying Zhao Li.
Okay, so the only thing I will point out is day, as we are talking about, this is a key thing that you have to keep in mind as a Western thought. Gift giving is a cultural requirement to these people because of the communal collective aspect of it. It is just as important the quality of gift you give a beggar on the side of a street as a gift you give a king. Okay.
Think of it a lot like when you give somebody a handshake. How strong do you expect that handshake to be when you give it to them? If someone gives you a light handshake, how trustworthy is that person to you when giving a handshake?
I disagrey with the metaphor because it's a bad one, but yes, it is how unfortunately we taught American men to think.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna go.
I disagree with it because it's a bad one.
Well, because we taught people to think this way, as grip strength being some kind of signifier of trustworthiness. That's a bad cultural signifier for Americans, but it is the same thing that is being signified here in day.
Right. So the thing is, the next ones we're going to go over, they're important. They're definitely important. One of them is going to be more important than the others in the last ones, and in these last ones here. So the first one is righteousness, or yi, or I should say e, often to complement to ren, denoting moral correct action choices, or moral vision that allows one to make them. Loyalty, zhang, denoting not only loyalty to one's superiors or peers or to individuals, but also to office and alignment of self with the interest of others or of the social group as a whole. Trustworthiness or faithfulness, xing, derived from the concept of promise keeping, meaning reliability for others, but also unwavering devotion to principle. Respectfulness and attentiveness, jing, derived from the notion of alertness and fusing the attentiveness to task characteristics of a subordinate and the respect for superiors that such attentiveness reflects. Filiality, chao, a traditional cultural imperative, obedience to parents raised to a subtle level of fundamental self-discipline and character building. Valor, yang, in a feudal era marked by incessant warfare, bold warriors and adventurers were common for Confucians. Valor concerns risk-taking on behalf of ethical principle.
And I will point out here, because we are getting into book 2, and it is a key distinction. Western valor and Eastern valor would literally be unrecognizable to one another. Do not think of this term like knights in armor, valor. The term does not mean the same thing in your mind. Trust me.
This is why the translator is not using these words, these one-word translation definitions, when he's translating this here. He's making you go back and actually look what day is and look what when is and look at all these here, so you're not trying to get a one-word definition.
Yes, because the way we conceptualize valor in the West is very much centered around the 14th century, like in our other digital apparatus around Dante's time. And this is centered around the 5th century BCE. In China, where the idea of one-on-one honorable combat meant that if you lost, your second might burn the village to the ground. Like, our concepts of valor are not the same. This is very different. So yes, we do need to, and we need to touch upon Yan Yuan and Zhen Shen, because of the fact that they're very important, and Ran Young because of the fact that he becomes a master later. There. Beyond that, we're good.
All right, Jack. Why don't we just go in the same order and go ahead and take 2-1?
Yep. I'm getting there. I just had to get down to it. The master said, "When one rules by means of virtue, it is like the North Star. It dwells in its place, and the other stars pay reverence to it." Okay, by the way, at this point in time, for minor cultural keystone, they are not geocentrist in China at this time. The only time that China was geocentrist was over 800 years earlier than this, and Confucius would have had zero knowledge of that time period because it was almost lost to history, even to us. We didn't discover it till the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Now, I will say there is a certain point to this. The North Star, as we view it, as a celestial body, doesn't move. The way that the Chinese, especially the ancient Chinese, view it, it was that and a moral keystone. For example, you would be compared to a North Star if you were to stick within your path or your Tao. You would be Tao, by the way, wasn't existed yet, but this is in the proto religion that it started in. You would have been compared to the North Star if you're in your devotion to family. You would have been compared to a North Star, so on and so forth. And you would have been compared to the Dog Star, which they would have called, if I remember correctly, the Serpent Star, because it moves so much, as somebody who is untrustworthy or unstable. So there is a juxtaposition in the heavens here, but that was just because they noticed the movement, not because they were geocentrists like we were at this time.
Yeah. Primary directions are also certain things that influence Chinese culture. You'll find out that like later on, around the year, I think it's 100, like what is it, AD? Is where you get like the Wu Xing, like the five elements. Is around the time the 5 elements come into existence.
It's either first
China.
century AD or third, and I don't remember.
Pretty sure it's first century, but here's the thing. What is it? Later on, with the influence of this on top of primary directions, including things like the North Star, you're going to get things like feng shui. When feng shui finally gets into like a Chinese culture, primary directions become like super important to determine the
Harmoniousness would be the best word in English.
Of certain things. North is considered to be an unchanging, trustworthy directional point of view, sort of thing.
Yes.
So by using virtue and north in the North Star in this here, they're basically saying that the primary direction of north is straight and true, and if you are straight and true, then then other people will notice and whatnot, and be show reverence, I guess.
Yes, and the reason we're adding all of this cultural signifier is because you really do need to remove certain portions of Western thought from your head when we think about this. Not because Western thought is incorrect or wrong, it's just they think in a very different way, and if you try to apply Western values, you're going to get the wrong answers on tests. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
Like, you will make mistakes if you apply Western thinking to Eastern thought, because you will end up coming to the wrong conclusion on multiple choice questions. It just is what it is. And essay questions, you might as well just not even answer them, because your professor going to look at you like you're crazy.
Yep.
So now going over to the notes, there's 2 for 2-1. 2-1, virtue translates as day, a key ethical term with a range of meanings that shift with context. The vague term virtue is an imperfect fit, but flexible enough to serve. In the Analects, related passages have sometimes been separated through rereading. Now, the reason that one is re-editing, sorry. The reason that's important to note is there's things that I've noticed reading ahead with this guy. He doesn't show where there's overlap. He just includes it within that next portion. Like, for example, like there's certain parts that are going to be repeated within sections like 2.5 or etc. that technically come from a previous book, or earlier in book 2, and it doesn't state it here. He just expects you to see it because he showed you that when we were in the previous book. Go to
That's
roughly the
just-
2-hour mark just before the end of the last episode, and you will see what we're talking about. He did it there.
I just want to note that wasn't a second note on 2.1. That was the second half of the note for 2.3.
I understand that, but it is part of 2.1, and because of the split, and that's this translator is very good for college students who are already familiar with Chinese culture. He is not good for Western people who are not. Like that's the issue. He that's why he needs a little bit of extra. He is a very good translator. I fucking despise the way he writes.
Ancom, you want to take 2.2? If you don't have anything to add?
Well, the only thing I will say before we move on, when he says it's flexible enough to serve, the points where he doesn't say it as day or as virtue and says day, pay attention. Okay, go on.
All right. The master said there are 300 songs in the poetry, yet one phrase covers them all. Thoughts unswerving.
Yes. Now I will say unswerving is pretty ubiquitous. We don't need to explain that. That I haven't found a culture yet where that means something different. So we can skip over that. Now, the difference here is thoughts. People, when they think about this, they think about like internal personal thoughts. That's not how Chinese think. Your personal thoughts are yours. This is your thoughts about the community, etc. Like, you can be slightly aloof in your personal thoughts as long as you are unswerving in your thoughts about your community, your family, the betterment of those around you, etc. It is not meant to, as fucking later assholes manipulated this into, don't fucking think for yourself. That's not what this means. This just means when you are thinking of the goodness, you always have to think of the whole. If you're thinking of only yourself, you're hurting other people. That's really what this is getting at.
The other thing is that this is one of those other things where Confucius is pushing tradition like very heavily with this. Thoughts unswerving, basically meaning that
Morals,
the poetry is
unchanging.
there, the moral is unchanging, the message is unchanging. You do not need to overthink it.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, this later gets manipulated, and I think Confucius was doing it the right way, which is why he refuses to be nailed down on these things. Because when you create a rigid dogmatic framework like his students were trying to do, you end up creating the very Zhao dynasty that he is trying to avoid.
This is one of the things that we actually kind of do in when you're doing good language learning and language acquisition, like classes and whatnot. You never give your students a rule. You show them a pattern and try to get them to follow that pattern without telling them the rule. Because once you tell them the rule, they think the rule is always going to be 100%.
Yep. And I'll point this out as an example. Ain't a word. Yes, it is. It became a word when we started using it ubiquitously across the South. Is it a proper word with an etymology that we would accept as like a properly evolved word? No. But it is a word.
Oh, absolutely it would.
No, because it would be considered dialectical. It wouldn't be its own. That's why I said it the way I did, Ancom.
But I mean, that's how new words come in.
No, it would
every
be
language is through dialectical.
No, but this would be a dialectical digression, not a actual etymological digression. That's what I was getting at. See what I'm saying? See why I draw the distinction?
I don't. That's a distinction without a difference.
No, it's okay. Here's the difference with with this distinction. You actually imply the use caseage. Dialectically, y'all makes absolutely no fucking sense in other portions of English outside of American English, which is a dialect of a broader umbrella category. So it is a dialectical digression that puts it into a very specific dialect of English, not the whole of English. I know it's annoying. But we gotta trust me.
It's not that it's annoying. It's just a matter of time and like communication, because eventually this shit spreads.
I know, but we're not there yet, and that's my point. It basically, our dialect has to die and become a new dialect, so that this becomes.
No, I'm a hardcore descriptivist, so this whole distinction bothers me.
Well, it is. I am a descriptivist and proscriptivist, not a prescriptivist. And that is where I think you are maybe making the distinction. I am not prescribing that everyone has to use this. I am just proscribing the way that language evolves over time.
I mean, we're both arguing that language evolves over time. Yeah. We're just arguing how that it evolves differently.
No, we're arguing where the broad case usage would change it from an etymological to origin to a dialectical digression. And as the linguist in the room is looking at us like he wants to smack both of us, let him pipe it a little bit.
I would say we have a fucking linguist in the room, and he is not piping up, so feel free.
I mean,
he knows I'm right, but he doesn't want to give it to me, and he wants to smack me because I'm being pedantic, too.
Entomology was more fun for me than etymology. Let's just put it that way.
Yes, bugs are much more fun than etymology. And this is just one of these things that if we had somebody and we had a big enough channel to get somebody like this on, like Language Jones or Dan McClellan, somebody who could actually get into the extreme fine points of the linguistics, we could truly explain this in a far better way. None of us are highly enough trained to get into that kind of digression, but it is a distinction with a difference, a just very minor difference, and that difference is time. That's why I laughed and started nodding my head very emphatically when you said that, because that's exactly what the difference is time. It's always the difference.
The distinction is so minor that only nerds would fight about it.
And unfortunately, if you're in college studying the Analects, you're surrounded by nerds, so this is important. Because even college kids that you're used to dealing that aren't nerds, I guarantee you, even if they have to study this shit, they ain't studying this shit. They are paying somebody to do everything but the tests for them.
Ancom, do you want to read the footnote?
2.2.
Yep, 2.2. The poetry refers to an anthology of popular and court songs, largely compiled during the pre-classical era, circa 1000 to 600. I'm assuming they mean BCE because it's not identified here, but correct. The ordering.
Yeah. You can always tell by the ordering.
Like it went from the larger number to the smaller number, so I'm like, okay, I'm guessing it's BCE. Anyways. The Confucian school believed it had been compiled by sages such as the founding Zhao dynasty kings and was thus a repository of wisdom. Confucius himself was seen as its final editor. Now, reading this comment with zero knowledge of the historical background here, this sounds to me very much like how a Christian might describe the books of Psalms and Proverbs in the Old Testament.
No. Close. Well, yes, on the poetic aspect of the writing, no on the cultural significance. Think of this more like Confucius was the person who put out the AE 1611.
Okay.
Like that, he was seen as the final editor. Like, you and I both know that that's bullshit historically, but you understand the cultural signifier as to why I use it. That's how he's viewed, and the poetry is not religious in aspect. it's treated religiously, but it is not religious in aspect like the Psalms were. It is culturally significant, like the and I'm going to use a really more modern example that is going to piss a lot of people off. The Georgia Guidestones were.
Don't make me get Milo on grass.
No, because he would laugh at that because he would understand the joke too. Because the thing is these are to be followed religiously, but they are not religion. The poetry is meant to essentially be more how we... better example. How Rich viewed Shakespeare's sonnets as cultural commentary, etc. To be followed religiously, but to be interpreted liberally.
Yeah. The reason I compared it to Psalms and Proverbs was the description having been compiled by sages such as kings and was thus a repository of wisdom, and it was songs, and I'm like, okay, this
no, and you're right. The only difference is
similar.
The only difference is they followed it religiously as a religious thing. These people followed it religiously as a cultural thing. And I know that, again, feels like a distinction without a difference, but that's only because religion stole culture. No, I'm talking to the audience, not you. No, that one was to the audience, not you. Because, unfortunately, so many people think that community comes from religion. No, community is a human thing. Religion or not, community is a human thing. So that is why this feels weird to Western minds. He's less Western than most people, but not Eastern in this way. So that's why it felt different to him. It's extremely difficult to do because we have to filter everything through a certain Western-centric framework, because almost every student that would be watching this is somebody who has never lived anywhere near Asia. Because anywhere near Asia, like the shit we're explaining, they're going to be like, why are they saying, like, we're explaining what 2 + 2 is to these people.
Yeah.
And no, don't do any racist shit about these people. No, I mean, literally, they don't understand why this doesn't make sense to Western minds. They do not get it. They think they think that there's something wrong with us, that we don't understand this. Because it's just so normal to them. And that's because of the cultural differences. That's all.
Yep.
Just by the way, the same reason when you look at an Eastern person and you don't understand why they look at you and they're like, why don't you want guns in every household and, four-wheelers driving around at 5 million miles an hour with no helmets and blah, blah, blah. Like, when you have that same thought process about people in Asia, that's how they think about us, about community. Okay.
Why don't you want a 5 tiered gun rack on your ATV that doesn't without a helmet?
Yeah, it's just a cultural thing that it's really hard unless you've lived in both cultures to understand why both cultures see each other the way they do.
All right, so if we're ready, we'll move on to 2.3. Okay. The master said, guide them with policies and align them with punishments, and the people will evade them and have no shame. Guide them with virtue and align them with li, and the people will have a sense of shame and fulfill their roles.
Now, like I said with Day, always focus when he says li instead of the English translation. Why is this one important? Because this has double meaning. This is both the li that you want to follow from the earlier Zhao and the li that you want to ignore and avoid as much as possible from the later Zhao, all rolled in one fucking sentence. Thank you, Confucius, you
Pretty
prick.
much.
Sorry. Nope. This is one of the ones I hate from him because, bitch, 3 words. It's all you had to add to make this not confusing.
Yeah. And if you're having trouble following along, I can just give you the bare bones of this. Basically, if you make rules and you punish people, they're just going to find a way around it, and they're not going to have shame doing it. If you are basically put in good policy in the sense that if you are a righteous person doing a righteous thing, and you get them culturally engaged, then they will have a sense of shame, and they will be able to do their roles without trying to skirt the
Yes.
what is it, authorities.
Yes.
In other words, this is how you emotionally manipulate your population into following the
Yep.
rules.
Well, that's with the nefarious
Kind of.
intent. Well, that's with the nefarious intent. That is, and that is
Yeah.
the Well, no, but here's the thing. That's the juxtaposition being shown here, and this is the thing that, like I said, 3 fucking words in either of those 3 words would have fucking made this thing make so much more sense. And an S on Lee on Lee's.
Be right back.
Because
be right back.
because part of what you just talked about, the emotional manipulation, is the bad Zhao. The good Zhao were the ones who made it culturally beneficial, not culturally negative. Instead of culturally negative to go against the grain, they made it culturally beneficial to go with it. So, for example, going with the grain, everybody benefited, instead of the person who goes against the grain is punished.
I read this as like, you're trying to get people to follow the rules and to feel shame when they fail to do so. If you just make it a bunch of rules and punishments, people are going to effectively rebel and feel no shame about it. So, you have to, as I said, emotionally manipulate. Now, to be fair, when I say emotionally manipulate, we have an automatic negative context, but like, it's still an accurate descriptor.
No, I know.
Regardless what value judgment you put on it.
No. The difference in this is, one is culturally manipulate, or emotionally manipulated, as you put it. The other is not manipulate, but incentivize. And I know that sounds like a distinction without a difference, but it is a distinction without a difference, because one is not through negative interpretation, not through you break the rules, there is now penalty for breaking the rules, but for harmony. If the community and you are at harmony, you get a even greater benefit from it as well. It is the incentivization process without negative implication. So anti-Pavlovian. There you go.
Jack, did you ever watch the TV series Madam Secretary?
Bits and pieces, not all of it.
Okay, what you just said about the differences between let's see, because you said use the word incentives, and I can't remember.
Incentivization without negative implication.
Yeah, and it just reminded me of how the show portrayed basically how the show portrayed saying I threatened them, but in a very diplomatic way, which was I gave them incentives.
No. Think of it more like this. Show them all the benefits of going along with this, and don't actually punish them if they don't. It's the difference between the 2 Zhao dynasties that he is comparing. That he does not go into explanation, that if he, with those 3 extra words, either of the, and an S on Lee's, he would have instantly made this very, very clear. Whereas with this very Eastern ambiguous way of wording it, he made it only clear if you have been raised in Asia your entire fucking life.
And the other thing to keep in mind is that this is kind of like a good way to look at this is if you think about it with using tax policy. Okay, so if you were to say that guide them with policies and align them with punishments, people will evade them and whatnot. So if you create a tax policy in which the rich people can find ways to pay less taxes, but you have to pay more taxes, and the punishment for not paying taxes is the IRS is going to come and take that money from you, you're not going to feel bad finding ways to not pay taxes in that system. In this here where they're saying guide them with virtue, align them with glee, this is like, okay, we do have a tax system, we have a tax policy, but we also have a program here that allows us to get food to the hungry within the community. We all have to pay taxes into the system, And if you're saying like this, and the people can see like the money, where the money's going, who's getting the money, how it's being spent, how it's being transferred, all of this kind of stuff, where you're doing it like in this
Like even if there's waste,
Right.
etc., just so that
Right.
everybody knows. Yes.
Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
knows. The thing is that no one's wants to scam the system. They'll feel shame, and they'll fulfill their roles as the taxpayers for that system to continue the virtuous action.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is
So
why
I would simplify this from a Western perspective as give them a reason to want to follow the rules.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, that's the less technical way of saying incentivization, but yeah.
Yep.
I mean, because that's the thing.
Right.
If we do Pavlovian, which is what most Western judicial systems and legal systems are based around, we create a system where we actually antagonize the populace into wanting to combat the system. Now, this isn't to say Eastern countries have done this perfectly right, but we're going back to 2,500 years ago now. When Eastern countries are trying to do this, and as I've pointed out, a lot of them fucked it up along the way. What they're trying to do is, instead of incentivizing punishments, you want to avoid going to prison, they want you thinking, what if you fell on hard times? What if you broke your leg? What if you fucking got sick and needed this kind of help, etc.? They want you thinking of what if it was me? What would I want my community to do for me? It's the difference in this. And it's really hard to really conceptualize outside of this. There are things that you will do in your family unit, even family units that you may or may not like, kids. And I know that I come from one of those shitty families, so don't sit here and take this as me blowing smoke up your ass that your shitty family's good. But there are things about your family that you will fight tooth and nail, even though you hate that motherfucker, you don't like him, you'd rather you never see that cousin, that uncle, take your fucking pick. But somebody talks shit about them, you will jump to their defense in a heartbeat. It's the same kind of thing. It's the same kind of thought process. What do you want somebody to do for you? Hey, somebody talks shit, I want somebody to defend me. I don't like this guy, but somebody's talking shit about him unfairly, I'm going to defend him. It's that same thought process.
Right.
Okay.
The other thing is that we read this before, but it says, note how this passage relates closely to the leadership model of 2-1 in the Analects. Related passages sometimes have been separated through re-editing from what we had said before. And the thing, this is a common theme. Like this, it's not just this one here. You're going to see a common theme with this over and over again throughout different books. It's going to be
and eventually they stop saying it. And eventually they stop saying it. So that's why we're harping on it so much here, is so that you get it in your head for later when they stop mentioning it.
Yep. All right, now, Jack, you're up.
Now, before we move on to 2-4, I will just point out, in 2-3, there is also something here that we need to explain. Roles is also a slightly different aspect to this. Your role could be different every single day in Chinese culture. It is not like we think about roles in modern Western concepts. Like, you could be the trash carrier one day and the fucking town singer the next day. Like, roles is a very, very fluid concept in ancient China. Okay. Sorry, I had to point that out, because when we think of that term, we think of more rigid structure. The master said, when I was 15, I set my heart on learning. At 30, I took my stand. At 40, I was without confusion. At 50, I knew the command of Tian. At 60, I heard it with a compliant ear. At 70, I followed the desires of my heart and do not overstep the bounds. I'm going to tell you, because I know too much about his life. Full of shit here, master. but it's a very good sentiment, but you didn't live it as much as you said it. Sorry. I have to be a little bit irreverent for that one because
He talked the talk, but he didn't necessarily walk the walk.
well, no, he just forgot that he should have put at 60 I heard it with a compliant ear and fucking argued like a absolute fucking demon with everybody who existed in my general vicinity.
Yep.
He just cut off that second half. He just cut off that second half of that decade.
Yeah. The thing to keep in mind is that later in Confucius' life, he had a very, very contentious relationship with a lot of the higher ups.
Yes, and he became Ken Ham, but for a good reason.
Yeah. So much so that his students brought him back to live with them, and teach in their schools, because he was basically running out of money.
Well, not only was he running out of money, and this is why I have to be a bit irreverent, because and I said he argued like a demon. He actually had people who wanted to kill him, like actively. Yeah. Like there were actively assassins sent after him in multiple previous occasions before his students took him back in.
Yeah.
Like this was he so when I say Ken Ham, I'm not being facetious, only slightly hyperbolic, because Ken Ham's a piece of shit. But Confucius may have been too, but he argued like a fucking fundamentalist on this shit with these people. And I get it. He was trying to make sure that they didn't fall into the same trap that he was afraid that they would fall from one Zhao to the other.
Yeah.
And he saw the writing on the wall. Newsflash, they did. He was right.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was arguing without reason, but he pissed off the wrong people.
And here's where I'm going to defend Confucius from Jack, in the sense that at 50, I knew the command of Tien, and then at 60, I heard it with a compliant ear, meaning that he might have had a mandate from heaven to be as boisterous as he was, and that's what he was talking about.
See, but the compliant ear is the issue, because you and I both know that particular word in fucking Chinese does not mean compliant like English. It means compliant and peaceful, and he was anything but peaceful from 60 to 70.
Right, but the other thing is that depending on how they're translating this here, he could be being compliant with Tien, and not necessarily compliant with the authorities.
Okay, you may be right. My Chinese is rusty enough where I have to admit this. I just don't know of any time where that use case of this word is in that context. It could be because I know we use it in English this way, so I know it's possible that it could be. I just have never seen it that way, because compliant with the heavens, compliant with the in that way, it was still meant to be done with humility at this time period of Chinese culture. So I could be wrong, and there's some cultural signifier I'm forgetting, and some parallel at the same time period, because from what I remember, that mindset didn't come until almost 800 years after Confucius was dead. I could be misremembering though, so I got to give you that.
Right, but I mean that's the only other way that I could possibly read into this, where Confucius could technically be correct, the best kind of correct.
Yeah. No, and like I said, you could be right. As far as I know, that did not come until the rediscovery of Confucius's writings much later, 800 years later. Because remember, we only have one fragment of what Confucius himself wrote, and it was a letter. It's not teachings, and we got one sentence. It was that time period that they found that they started to focus on Confucius again. And from what I remember, that's when the time period comes from, when we have this mandate of heaven being done with like fiery, like dragon-like anger. But it could come from this time period too, and I just don't remember. So I got to give you that.
The other thing. Yeah, and the other thing is that the reason why I say this is I was like, I knew the command of TN, and then what is it? I heard it with a compliant ear, and the last one there, his 70s. That's when he's teaching again at his student's school, and it's like at 70, I follow the desires of my heart, which is teaching. And do not overstep the bounds. Meaning, I don't go outside my front door because I might get shot.
Okay, maybe.
I'm kidding around.
No.
Last part.
Yeah, no. Maybe, like I said, I just more argued that he left off the second half of that sentence as opposed to argued with any other point of the sentences.
Yeah.
Because it's more like, Jack, went to Southeast Asia and cooked great meals. Jack also did a bunch of stupid shit like fucking travel to a country he didn't speak the language in with nothing but a backpack full of clothes and a knife roll full of knives and a $200 in his wallet and no way to get home. That was not like leaving that part out of the story changes the story a bit. Like, yeah, I went to Asia and I cooked great meals. That sounds wonderful. I did it in a very dumb way. Like, I could have ended up a homeless motherfucker in fucking Cambodia and never made it home. Like, that was entirely a possibility with the choice I made. And with his, he made a choice of going to fucking verbal war with people with enough power to rule armies. So, leaving out his, I argued with everybody who wanted to kill me until they wanted to kill me more, seems like a relevant point to bring up.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I'll get to this.
4 in the notes.
This famous thumbnail autobiography is probably a later addition to the book. It captures Confucian school views of its founder. Tian, the sky, refers to the concept of a supreme deity, heaven, in conceptual range of flexible, and its conceptual range is flexible, and the term is left untranslated here. Now, I will disagree with him here because he fucked up. He did a little too Western. Said Tien is not a supreme deity. It is the supreme deities, because at this point deities are all equal in this polytheistic religion. In this well, not all, but there's tiers of gods. There's tiers of gods. Sorry, I misspoke. There are tiers of gods where each tier is equal to itself. Each other god within that tier is equal to itself.
Except for the emperor. The emperor of heaven is the person who's the supreme ruler of heaven.
Yes, but he is not referred to by just Tien. That is all of the courts.
That's
why I was.
That.
Yeah, that's what.
I'm just saying
you were right to call me out. I did misspeak, but that is where he is mistaking here, because what they are talking about is the supreme deities. If they are talking about the emperor, it is always translated as the emperor.
No. There is the emperor of earth and the emperor of heaven.
Well, okay, yes. It is always translated as the emperor of heaven when it is talking about the emperor of heaven.
Okay, but what I'm getting at here is that some people think that if you say the emperor, they're talking about the human being that is living in like the forbidden city. And is is like alive on earth at the time. We're talking about the pantheon of gods here, and there's a literal emperor of heaven within that pantheon, who is the supreme being above all of the other gods in that pantheon.
Yes. But I will just point out again for our audience who is not as familiar with the cultures, it will never be translated as Tien when we're talking about that singular individual, ever.
Correct.
So that is where he is mistaken to saying supreme deity instead of deities. But other than that, yes. Yeah. Agreed. And that's just because of the way that they conceptualize their polytheistic religion. And that emperor, by the way, is very rarely cited. There is a reason that Chinese culture was able to stay far more cohesive for far longer, because they did not have a supreme deity that got involved in every fucking thing that they did to argue about. Honestly, is what prevented it.
He did make the Monkey King part of the pantheon.
Yes, but my point is he didn't get directly involved, so he was considered almost like an absentee father. And we argued about the kids instead of him, and it therefore allowed your culture to stay more cohesive in that area of the world for longer. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And I'm being very flippant about this. I'm sorry for any of you who are highly religious and are being offended by this. But we are speaking about this is kind of normal in cultures around the world. And we are just juxtaposing it against the way this happens in other cultures as well.
Right.
Okay. So the last thing the last thing I will point out is I personally think he should have said command of the heavens here instead of translating it as TN or leaving it as TN, because I think this is his Western centric fuck up of thinking of this being about the emperor when the emperor doesn't make decisions like this for the most part. And he wouldn't know that unless he studied the religion. You know what I mean?
Right. But that, like, when he's saying this here was the command of TN, then this is kind of like all of the deities being in unanimous agreement. So it doesn't necessarily have to come directly from the emperor.
Well, that's why I say it should have been heavens.
A command of TN is kind of like a unanimous agreement among all of the deities.
And I agree with you, but that's why I think he should have just said heavens here, because I think leaving it as TN, he allowed the Western-centric singular person thinking come in. That's all. I think he just should have said heavens because it translates accurately with what you and I understand of Eastern religions that I don't think he did.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
That's all.
If no one has anything else, Ancom, do you want to do 2-5?
Sure. Meng Yizi asked about filiality. The master said, never disobey. Fan Qi was driving the master's chariot, and the master told him, Meng Yizi asked me about filiality, and I replied, never disobey. Fan Qi said, what did you mean? The master said, while they are alive, serve them according to Li. When they are dead, bury them according to Li. Sacrifice to them according to Li.
Yes. Never disobey is not never disobey the person. It's never disobey the way, or in this case, the culture.
Yep.
Just to point that out, because like that's why I chuckled and snickered a bit when it said never disobey, because I'm like, every Western mind just fucking heard the fucking nuns smacking the ruler that if they went to Catholic school.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not what it means here. That's not what it means.
People stop for a second to check their knuckles.
Yeah. The reality is never disobey here, to put it into a Western mindset. Always light off fireworks on 4th of July. Always color Easter eggs on Easter. Doesn't matter if you're a Christian. Always go to the whatever local Greek holiday festival. It's always be part
if
of.
If you're Catholic, always go to midnight mass on Christmas.
Yeah, that's another great example. It is be obedient to what is expected of you based on your culture, is what it is saying here.
Yep.
So for example, us in America, unfortunately, as much as I hate it, we are very Christianified in a lot of our cultural practices. So there's a lot of crossover with some of these things where it's like Easter. I am not a Christian. I would still color Easter eggs every fucking year because it's a cultural thing that's fun. It has nothing to do with religion, in my opinion. It is one of those. It is that same kind of thing here. He is just being a little bit more precise, because in this one, serve them according to Li. Well, you're not always obedient to a bad master. Culture would dictate that sometimes you would disobey a bad master for his benefit because your job is to be his best servant, for example.
Yeah.
Like this is a very interesting thing to try to deal with. And the only time period I could kind of point to is about 8 to 900 CE in Europe, with the code of chivalry and the hierarchy of classes. And Ancom wants to smack me, but that's the cultural equivalent. The only difference is less negative implications in the East for it. And
I mean,
there really
don't want to smack you. I don't want to smack you. You're making what I consider to be an accurate comparison.
Yeah, but like, I consider it a good thing in Eastern culture because of the way they did it, whereas Western culture, we really fucked it up. Eastern culture fucked it up too, but they fixed it.
Like I said, this is as I read this is basically I would compare the Eastern and the Western as the difference between using soft power and hard power in modern geopolitics. Right? It's incentivizing versus compelling. I find both to be coercive and manipulative in their own way, but I recognize one of these is less harmful than the other.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things about collectivist societies is trying to find a way to make sure everyone's following what the group does.
Yeah.
This is just one of the ways that it does it.
Well, the reason I say the reason I said it would probably make you want to smack me is because I speak about it in a positive light from the Asian cultures. Because in Asian cultures, it is doing the thing I'm talking about with cultural signifiers and what to be obedient to. What the 8 to 900s what the 8 to 900s did with the same tactic was brutalize an entire people group and commit genocide several times until people obeyed. Very, very different outcomes from this thought process.
You're engaging in cultural relativism, which I have no problem with. Like, you're saying, if you look at the way A did it and you look at the way B did it, one of these is clearly better.
Okay, now, well then you stopped wanting to smack me as much when I bring up these references, because when we first met, every time I'd speak positively about some of these things that have really bad outcomes in the West, you'd want to smack me. So I've gotten used to the outcome.
Yes, but like that's the thing, is you're not speaking positively about the shit the West did. You're saying this was bad, the Eastern method was less harmful, and I'm like, yeah, that's accurate. I have no reason to.
Well, but then on this one, I think I was adding more context to it than you do, because the East really fucked this up too. I'll point to Mao. I will point to fucking. Yes. I will point to, and for Desperado, Nobunaga. For Korea, I'll point to Suan-ku.
I'm not saying that the East never fucked it up. It's just the
oh god, I mispronounced that Korean name. I know I mispronounced that Korean name. I feel bad now.
Yeah. If I read the predominant philosophies of both of these cultures and compare them to what the people did, I would say the Western philosophies were a lot more conducive to the bullshit they did than the Eastern philosophies seemed to be to the bullshit.
Well, actually, this is where I disagree.
On average, to get better outcomes.
Well, that's where I disagree. I think it was actually, if you go to the pure reading of these texts, Western writing told us to do it better. Asian culture reinforced it better. Their writing is far more authoritarian in nature as far as how we read it. How they implemented it was different, whereas the way we wrote was far more complementary and accepting and adaptive, where we implemented it with rigidity. That's where this is weird to talk about, because technically Western writing on this is better. We just fucked up the application. Eastern writing is worse, but somehow they got it right. And I don't understand why, beyond the cultural signifiers of one being a temperate climate and one being a jungle climate, and going into the anthropology of it all.
Well, I would say the climate of Eastern Asia is extremely diverse. So,
Well, yeah, but it's extremely diverse, but it's a jungle climate. Like even its desert is technically a jungle desert. I know that sounds really weird. It's because of the edge cases of where the jungle or the desert touches, how much
now,
rain
see,
the edge touches.
my my understanding was that yes, if you look at the southern end of East Asia, very jungly, but I thought the northern was more mountainous.
Well, I use a colloquial phrasing there. Let me be more honest. Let me be more accurate. It is a tropical climate. Let's be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, that makes more sense.
Yeah. I should be more accurate when I speak about these things, but when I talk about them when in juxtaposition of religion, I then immediately go into the religious terminology between desert religion, jungle religion, temperate religion, ice religion, etc. Because all of them end up following different patterns based on the climate of their region. For example, and for any of you who are less theology nerds than us, this will be a quick rundown. I will not digress too much. Desert religions tend to be monotheistic. Jungle religions tend to be polytheistic. Ice religions can go either way. It depends on how close they are to the ocean. There you go.
Right, you want to read the notes?
Mengzi was one of two young patricians of the state of Lu who were entrusted by their father to a youthful Confucius for tutoring, thus beginning Confucius's career as a teacher. Since the later, rather undistinguished disciple Fan Qi is presented here as well, we are presumably to picture Mengzi now as a fully adult member of the Lu nobility. Mengzi's son, Meng Wubo, appears in 2.6. With 2.5, we begin a string of 4 passages all related to filiality, or zhao, which refers specifically to the way sons are to treat parents. Learning and accepting with devotion one's duties as a son are key to the Confucian Tao. Filiality was a tradition value in Zhao era China. These passages attempt to pinpoint value beyond their tradition. References to filiality concern sons. Although early Confucianism reveals little or no active prejudice against women, it seems to tacitly assume that its readers, and the only people who matter in public society, are men. In this sense, it fails to escape the social norms of its time.
Well,
I like that note because you don't have to be actively hostile to women to be patriarchal.
Well, but he's wrong here. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but in my opinion, he is incorrect in the way he is, because there is a active prejudice against women in the culture in this time period that I just don't think he is fully aware of because of how matriarchal households are run. And it is, for lack of a better way, it's not like original sin or any of the stupid shit we did over here, but women are, because they are the life givers, are also viewed as potentially the evil life givers, and there is a certain level of mystic suspicion that is around women in this time period in China. Like they like I don't think he understands. This was less patriarchy, more superstition in 2500 BCE.
Yeah. I mean, and this also translates over to the Tao Te Ching. Like the Tao Te Ching actively, what is it? Like if you read or like commentary on the original writings, part of the understanding of the Tao Te Ching was that the energy that you source from the universe within your body, qi, what is it? all derives down to near the groin region. If you ejaculate, you lose qi. Now, what things could possibly cause you to ejaculate? Avoid those things.
And there's more to it than this. We're not going to digress onto it too much. This is just,
Right.
I just want to point out, I think he is wrong here. I don't think it was active patriarchal oppressive prejudice like we think of it, but there was a superstition that carried through to anyone who was not already a mother and no longer giving birth to children. The only women
Yes.
who were above suspicion were women who were no longer giving birth. Even if they were still
Yep.
sexually active, like that wasn't the issue. It was because in this time period and much earlier, and this comes from a indigenous holdover there's a lot that goes into it, but the women, until they stopped giving birth, they could always be somebody who gives birth to great evil, and therefore they
Right.
were always viewed with a certain level of suspicion.
Right.
That's why barren
This
women.
is,
Last point. That's why barren women in this time period were also considered great sages. Go on.
Yeah. The thing I was just gonna say is like this is where there's cultural implications, and if you look at this compared to like the Tao Te Ching, where they say like Lao Tzu lived, I think, what is it, like 40 years before Confucius, 30 to 40 years before Confucius,
roughly,
somewhere.
yeah. Same lifetime, roughly, yeah.
Yeah. So like this concept is within the society that we're talking about here. I'm breaking this down in a very generalistic way, so we don't have to go onto a
Yep.
long tangent about the Tao Te Ching. But
Yes.
I know I'm making a joke about it at the same time. But the thing is that this is kind of the concept that was going on. The majority of people that were like heavy practicing Taoists at this time period would have been vol cells.
Yes. And the last thing that I'll point out before we move on to 2.6 is the reasoning behind this. There's an anthropological reasoning. In China, before these cultural practices became the norm, barren women were treated much like barren women were treated in Western Europe. They were considered less valuable because they could not produce sons. And we understand anthropologically, they did not want to keep pushing people out of the collectivist mindset because it kept hurting the collectivist mindset. So essentially, they created the mystic role for barren women and women who are no longer able to give birth because of menopause, etc. To keep them within the collective.
Buddhism takes over. Yeah, once Buddhism takes over in China, a lot of these women also become part of the the nunnery, if you want to call it that.
Yep.
And there is also a lot of writings in China about these women being mystics as Buddhist monks.
Yes. And that's why I think he is incorrect in his interpretation of the way he puts this. It's just, it gets complicated because it wasn't in the same way that we've devalued women, because they found a way to bring them back into value and in effect created another problem later on, but in a way prevented the issues that we see in Western culture for 800 years after this.
The other thing you have to keep in mind is that we're talking about 500 BC.
Yeah, 1300 years
in that
after
time
this.
period. Kicking somebody out of the group and banishing them for something that's like a
Immutable characteristic.
Immutable characteristic is not necessarily helpful if they have a skill that's valuable to the collective itself.
And in this time period, while women weren't quote unquote teachers in the way that we think of it, in the way that it was still very much, most women were nannies in this way. If they weren't mothers, they were house carers in some way. Either they taught children, or either a skill or some kind of education, or they cared for the house, being cooks, etc. So they were always a valued member of your family, even if they weren't your family. Like yeah. I'm just talking for Westerners who don't understand this.
Yeah.
The way that
women dealt with gardening, women dealt with livestock, women dealt with a whole slew of different tasks, if you want to put that were roles within the community itself. It wasn't like they were relegated to just being like homemakers and they just sat in the house all day and waited for to be married to somebody. Like this is they do to actually have like their own roles within the society.
Yeah, and that's, I just wanted to point it out because when we speak kind of flippantly with the way that they do these things in these writings, he sees this as a soft cultural prejudice as opposed to a cultural signifier towards the collectivism that actually shows them value even though they are under suspicion because of the other pre Confucian mythology and folklore and blah 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 blah. So yeah, this is
matter of fact,
go ahead.
older women actually had like the job of matchmaking, where they literally like you would go to like the joke in Mulan about the matchmaker is like a kernel of truth to something that was actually practiced in China. What is
Most
it?
of Asia.
Where you would, well, yeah, I mean, like Omiya is still even practiced in Japan.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I can only think of cultures across the Hindu Kush that fucking don't do this, and even there sometimes.
Right. No, but like, so you would literally go and meet an auntie in the in your village, and you would have to basically dress your best and show your best etiquette to your auntie, and then somebody else would have to show their best to that auntie or whatnot. And then of all the different people that one person interviews individually, then they put people together.
Yeah, and when we say this, we're speaking a little flippantly. The funny part about this, their goal was actually to make the kids happy. This was actually a practice that later changed and became about family ties and all of that stupid shit. But originally, this matchmaking principle wasn't about making more power. It was about making happy communities and harmonious communities, which is why it was usually given to the mystic Baron auntie, the woman who understood, hey, I don't really fit in, so I kind of see how all the parts fit together.
Yep.
And every time people talk about matchmaker, the only thing I can think of is Fiddler on the Roof.
Which is where this practice gets really, really nasty in the West. Yes. Yes. We hate to keep bringing these up because unfortunately the West fucked this up so often, but they really did. Don't get me wrong. I will keep bringing up the East did not make it better. They just fucked it up later in history. It was just well, they fucked it up centuries later than the Europeans did, but they had it right at first, so I still don't fucking get how that happened. But okay, so now we get to talk about fucking this asshole.
All right, my turn.
Yep, Meng Wubo.
Yeah, Meng Wubo asked about filiality. The master said, "Let your mother and father need be concerned only for your health."
Okay, so for context, Meng Wubo is a fucking ungrateful, entitled prick in this family. That's why this one bugs me, because this he is asking as the most entitled, spoiled brat in this entire fucking school, and he's asking as he is literally having shit rained on him and seeing his classmates struggle and shit. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, with the way that this is asked, I think he's asking ironically, and therefore the master's comment makes perfect sense with the way Confucius spoke, with trying to rebuke you for your presupposition that is incorrect and point you toward the correct path. Whereas when Meng Wubo is asking about the fidelity, he is talking about it in a way of devotion to name, because that is what he feels his younger brother should be doing to him, since he is so learned. So what? Yeah. And it. Sorry, I hate this asshole. So that's why this one bugs me.
Yeah.
Wait,
the other thing.
You're saying younger brother. Who are you talking about?
Meng Wu. He's not been mentioned yet. Meng Wubo's little brother.
Okay.
When he's asking about when Meng Wubo is talking about family, he is always talking about devotion to the family name, family honor, etc. Whereas when Confucius is talking about fidelity, he is talking about harmony and benefit to the family. Technically the same words, very different intention.
Yeah. The one thing that the other thing you can derive from this response outside of that is basically don't go on adventures and fulfill your role within society.
Yeah, and the other point is let your mother and father need be concerned only for your health, because the whole point is if your family is run correctly, your parents and grandparents are concerned for your health. They make sure you are healthy so that the family runs smoothly, so on and so forth. This isn't just physical health, mind you. This is mental health. That's why the matchmaker, like, this is a very broad concept when Confucius brings it up, whereas the more restricted wording that Meng Wu Bo uses has him speak in a way, again, he the way he phrases it, it would be like a military person asking about devotion to family versus a fucking hippie. It's all in tone and word choice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now that being said, I know this because I've read much further ahead of this fucking book. We will get to all this later, but just know Meng Wu Bo is a bit of a cunt. And that's why last week when I read ahead and I saw that we were getting on to him, I'm like, yeah, damn it. That being said, the last point I'll bring to this is this seems like an obvious concept. And it almost seems to a point imminently self-serving. And it is. Because the mother and father worried about your health is worried about the family unit functioning as a whole, because the younger ones are the ones who do the majority of the work. The older ones are the ones who do the majority of the skilled work and education. So this is a symbiotic relationship that they are trying to point to that makes a lot more sense in Chinese than English. I'm sorry. Yeah. Because... yeah, sorry. I won't digress any further because I'll go on for another 20 minutes.
If there's nothing else, then Jack, I think
yes.
Is it? You have 2-7.
Zhu asked about fidelity. The master said, "What is meant by fidelity today is nothing but being able to take care of your parents. But even hounds and horses can require care. Without respectful vigilance, what is the difference?" What do you take from this, Ancom, without either comment from either of us? Because this would be like what a kid would read. Well, a kid in these classes, I should say.
Be right back.
Yeah, so it is the term respectful vigilance clearly means more than one would take from the words as given. And I think this is a situation where translation was clearly imperfect.
Actually, it's damn near perfect. Intent isn't. I think you're on the right track, but as far as like actual translation and transliteration from Chinese to English, it's pretty close.
Okay, but like, it's this juxtaposition of taking of caring for animals versus caring for parents, and like respect absolutely makes it different here. The word vigilance, I'm not sure if I understand.
Put your mind 2,500. Put your mind 2,500 year back, and the dangers involved makes more sense then.
Okay, fair point.
We are blessed by modernity to not have to be as vigilant as we once were.
Okay. But like I can still gather that there is something being meant here that was more than I can perceive just from the words. Like, he's clearly pointing out that there is he's saying that in the modern culture, modern in this case being relative to himself, that the meaning of filiality has been diluted just down to taking care of your elders. But he is saying that the actual meaning is more about it's more about the attitude you take towards those who have been charged to your care. A pet or a horse is going to be very different in terms of your relationship to them than the person or people who protected you and cared for you for a large chunk of your life, and now you are returning the favor to them. At least that's how I would take this.
Yeah, and on face value, makes a lot of sense. Here's the cultural relevance that you need to make this make a little bit more sense. In this time period, unfortunately, because of some rather problematic issues outside of the control of some of these cultures, old people were being neglected. Animals were being cared for. So what this was saying is, why do you care for your elders less than you care for your pet and your warhorse? This was an admonishment.
I took something entirely different from this.
Well, I take it just because of what was happening in this time period, because Confucius was facing...
No. What Confucius is pointing out here is that, what was it? Is like taking care of your parents. Like, obviously they need food, water, and they need to be able to if your parents are bedridden, you're obviously going to need to change soiled sheets and whatnot with them. But the other thing is that respectful vigilance also requires you to be there as somebody to to engage with them on an emotional and mental level. It's not something where you just pay people money to make sure that your parents are taken care of. And
okay, I see where you're. No, I see where you're going. And I was saying, we're saying the same thing from different angles. That essentially, my point was, these people would care for their pets, their hawks, their etc., and talk to them, etc. Whereas they would have the hired help take care of the parents, therefore neglecting them. And this was that admonishment of, we need to care for all living things with the same respect that we would want ourselves, is what he's pointing to.
But the other thing is that the other reason why he's saying this respectful vigilance is what he's saying is there's still more to learn from them.
Yep. Well, that too. Agreed. I should have added that part as well. And that was the part that I didn't add, and I should have, Adcom, because respectful vigilance, you kind of hitched on those words. Vigilance in Chinese is everything we mean it to mean, plus conscious mindfulness. It is everything we think of that word to mean, plus that one extra concept. Make more sense now? Ancom?
Yeah, yeah, I think it does.
Oh, sorry, I was making. I was. I thought we lost you for a second.
No, I was responding. Maybe it didn't pick me up, but anyways.
Oh yeah, you didn't come through until you said make sense. So you may have went back on the to the point where you're too quiet for your gate to get you. No problem. Yeah, it's just that vigilance. When we think of that word, we think of that word much later than China in this time period as well. Because when we think of the word,
when I think of that word, I think of one character from a book series in particular.
Which one?
Mad-Eye Moody from the Harry Potter series. Constant vigilance.
Yes, and that actually ties directly back to where our modern conceptualization of vigilance in the West comes from. And you're going to hate it, the Crusaders.
Yeah.
Whereas
honestly,
what they think of as vigilance, They think of the person who guards a tomb even though the person's dead, and will guard it every day for no other reason than to show that person respect.
Oh,
Constant
interesting.
mindfulness. And conscious mindfulness, I should say, not constant. Constant as well, but conscious is the important part. Now, the reason that this matters is because in this time period, for those of you who don't know a whole lot of your ancient Chinese history, and why the fuck would you, a lot of old people are basically being fucking inuited and just put out into the wilds and shit instead of being cared for because they don't have enough money for the help to the family help to be in the household to care for them. So they just get rid of them, and it's only the wealthy families that even have them around anymore, and it's leading to a cultural decline, much like happened in the second Zhao period that Confucius is trying to avoid. So,
okay, you've been saying something that I've been confused by, because as I recall, when we were reading through the intro, it was indicating that the first Zhao period was before Confucius and was the thing that he was trying to return to. And the second Zhao period was after Confucius, and
no, both are before. Both are before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, both are before him. He is trying to go towards one and avoid the other. He sees them going towards the latter, and he is trying to prevent it. He actually is correct, by the way, because they literally go the route of the second Zhao 200 years after fucking Confucius dies. But he was 100% right in that. But he was wrong in his application because he was incorrect of what the original Zhao was, because it had become mythologized. So it ended up, there's a lot to it, but that's why the Zhao he's trying to avoid and the Zhao he's trying to go to are two different things, same fucking name. It gets very confusing, which is why I pointed out each time it's important. Now, the last thing I will point out, that when we get to this footnote, he calls him a junior disciple of some importance. I would not call him a junior disciple. I would call him an acolyte, because he has more direct involvement with Confucius than most other students, including ones that later become masters. So I just couldn't put him as a junior disciple. It just doesn't feel right.
Could be his what is it? His social status within the society is the reason why he got that.
Maybe, but as a modern interpreter, that doesn't make sense to put that as a footnote over here. It almost seems like he's copying an older footnote instead of interpreting it himself, because that just doesn't seem accurate for Zhiyu. Because Zhiyu, to put this into an easier perspective, Ancom, he's not quite a teacher's pet, but he got a lot of gold stars on that chart. And the teacher goes to him and calls on him when his hand goes up a lot more often than others, etc.
He's the kid that completes all the extra credit and hands it in before everybody else.
Yeah, so junior disciple, unless there is something I've lost in the history and I've never found in all of my reading on Confucius, unless he is fucking extremely poor, or there's some kind of family, this just feels off. Sorry.
It could also be that his someone in his family could have done something horrible, and he was given a position in the school due to his ability.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
And,
like I said, there's something I don't. It feels off because of how it reads when you read between the conversations between him and Confucius. It feels off. There might be something I'm missing. For any of you in the audience, if you end up knowing the answer to why he's a junior disciple despite having this kind of favoritism shown upon him, I don't know. And now the footnote is why I point this out. Zhiyu is a junior disciple of some importance, but his personal character is not developed in detail in the Analects. And this is where, again, I will disagree. It is through words. It's not expressly told, for Desperado, he'll understand why I'm bringing up this one. It's shown. It's shown through example as to how he speaks to the master, the word choices, the phrasing, and you and I both know how important that is in Chinese language. Whereas it's not told to the audience through his actions like it is with Ran.
But the other thing to keep in mind is that if Confucius thinks you're a fun person to talk to, he'll talk to you. It doesn't matter who you are. He'll still talk to you. So,
well, yeah,
I mean,
I guess this is more, and for those of you in the audience, the reason this feels weird to me is because junior disciple is a Western concept when we think about this as like junior, senior. Over there, it really was about which teacher spent the most time with you, because it was very rare that you only had one. Like, it's a different in education style as to why this is. I think his character is shown by the fact that the master favors his company, and the fact that he favors his answers when he calls upon him more often, so on and so forth. Like, that's why this feels off. And the junior could be some kind of status like Despy's pointing to, but I don't know it. And when I quick Googled it a second ago, I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
So
the other thing is that it could have been somebody that didn't live a long life. He could have died younger.
I didn't think about that. I'll have to look at that in a minute. But the last point I'll bring up, there are certain things that you have to ignore from the commentaries, not because they are quote unquote incorrect, but because we don't think about them in the more ancient ways. And when I say ancient, I'm even talking like 1800s, because there are certain commentaries that are going to be used where people literally just copy and paste a fucking section instead of actually bringing in the more modern information that they even have access to. And I think this might be one of them, where this one's just been copied and pasted so many times, people just call him a junior disciple out of rote memory, because it doesn't seem to apply with all the text we have. So,
all right,
now,
Income, you're up.
All
right.
2-8.
Zicha asked about filiality. The master said, "It is the expression on the face that is difficult. That the young should shoulder the hardest chores, or that the eldest are served food and wine first at meals. Whenever was that what filiality meant?"
Wow.
That's an interesting one.
Wow.
Why? I'm very confused by your sarcastic laugh.
He's basically chastising all of Japan and Tatemai with that wow.
Okay. All right. It's a very culturally relevant sarcasm. I see.
Well, but it's also culturally relevant because of how wrong Asian cultures have gotten this from the teachings. Every fucking one of them that has not gone through almost a fucking massive genocide has gotten this fucking wrong.
I'm a little confused by the phrase, "it is the expression on the face that is difficult." Like, is this saying face in the metaphorical sense? Like, it is how it is practiced that is a problem?
Well, there's that too. Well, there's that too. But no, he's literally talking about your face, because while you're doing these services to the elders, if you look grumpy about it, you're still guilty of not doing it at all. Like, if I were to, hey, Jack, go take the trash out. Oh man, I'm now not taking the trash out, even if I take the trash out. Like, that's part of it. Like, it is both. So you are right to point out that it's not just that, but it is that too, and that's why it's the he's laughing and condemning the Hane and Tatemai, because Japan has gotten this way wrong. China a little less wrong. Hone, sorry. Fuck you! I don't speak the language fluently. Give me a break. Korea got this a little
You're
bit
telling
better.
me that if I mispronounce something like the Analects, that you wouldn't point that
No,
out
but
to
I also wouldn't get upset if you said "fuck me" either. So, I'm holding myself to the same standards here. That being said, it's one of those things where it's the way that these cultures have taken it because of other things that have happened. The only cultures that have significantly survived getting this wrong are Cambodia, Laos, and India. And that's because all three of northern India, Laos, and Cambodia have gone through multiple attempted genocides on their culture to the point where they had to learn that you can't fuck around with this shit. You can't just put your face on it, because that person who puts a smile on their face and instead of being honest and transparent and things like that, that's the person who's going to come out of the woods one day and shoot you in the fucking back.
Yep.
Like it took massive cultural trauma for China, for these cultures to not fuck this up. And I'm like, how? It's right there. It's in plain text. Like, to put this into perspective, this is like the idiots in fucking, the Christian Bible, who, if you're going to be a scriptural literalist, please tell me how you ever rebel against a king if you're a scriptural literalist and you've ever read the book of Romans to the chapter of 13. It literally says in the beginning of that, all leaders are put in place by God, and rebelling against them is rebelling against God. If you're a literalist, you cannot think anything other than what that fucking scripture says. It's the same thing here. How can you read this? How did you fuck this up? How? Like, what interpretation of these sentences did you come up with to reverse this?
It's the superpower that basically every culture has in the world. It's called cognitive dissonance.
I know, but I'm just sitting there going like, you guys literally worship these texts like a fucking religion, and it's right there in the beginning.
Right, but they're numbered, which means you can skip over them.
I know. Sorry. And for those of you in the audience who don't understand why this bugs me, I don't care if you're religious. I don't care. Believe whatever the fuck you want. But don't be a hypocrite. If you don't, hey, I believe what I believe, but I don't know all this stuff. Okay, cool. Don't expect anybody else to and hold them to a different standard than you hold yourself to. That is the only standard I will ever judge you by on religion. And this is their fucking religion. Confucianism is a religion to Asia. Like, I know they don't like admitting it, but it is.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out who the deity is.
Not all religions have to have deific worship. They worship the Wei as a deity.
Yeah.
I'm right. It's really icky, and they shouldn't, but they do. It's not.
Or at the very least, they idolize it as such.
No, so much they will kill over. No, they worship the Wei. Like, you don't understand how much damage the Red Book did to Asia. It didn't just do it to China, unfortunately. These teachings have fucked up Asia because of the corruptions over the centuries. I'm sorry, it just really has. As much as
well, if you're talking about how it became the Maoist Red Book, okay, I can understand that. But I'm trying to think about like Confucianism itself. When it's
Confucianism gets followed as the religion even before Mao. When you talk about this becomes the standard teachings of all of your freaking aristocracy and all of your officials, even before Mao.
Yeah, but these were for systems of government,
and culture, which is the same things that religions do. The only difference is they generally add a deity. This one, they just made the deity the culture. Think about it.
Okay.
I know a theologian would get upset with me too, but in practice,
it seems like it's 2 to 3 steps farther than what is it? I'm willing to leap to it being a religion.
I would just go in practice as opposed to what they preach. They treat it as if. And that's why I treat it this way.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that.
And that's
My
why I
thing
say
is
what I
that,
do.
like,
I understand your
I'm
your
looking
hesitancy.
for yeah. I'm just looking for where is the what is it exonerated what is it thing that they're in essence
even
deifying.
though they have failed to uphold the way, they continue to follow the way that they know is wrong.
Okay.
We know this is a religious tradition. By the way, I say religion. It's just religion is where this happens most in human nature. Humans do this often, so I should say this is a human thing. But the religion, but unfortunately, with the way that this is followed in practice, what was that sound?
What's
Sorry, I just heard something.
Sound.
Oh, okay. I guess my phone's connected to my headset too. I just got an alert. I was like, what the fuck was that? It just all of a sudden I just get chirp chirp. I was like,
all right.
No. The reason I say this is because in practice through China, Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, both Koreas now, and through Mongolia, Pakistan before certain time periods, these practices did become religious in nature. So much so that they actually did have religious sects completely around Confucius's teachings. They eventually rejected that because those people deified Confucius, but they ended up deifying his practices and removing him from deific worship. In practice, to me, that's the same thing as a religion. It's like the people that we say that are religious about their guns. They treat their guns like their religion. It's still the same. It's the same thing. This is what they did with these teachings. Okay, now we can go on. Sorry. I think that closes it out enough to where everybody can understand what I'm meaning.
Yep. So, is it me that's next?
We don't have a side note, so yes. I was about to say Ancom needs to do side note, but no 2-8.
Yep. The master said, I can speak with Hui all day and he will never contradict me, like a dolt. But after he withdraws, when I survey his personal conduct, indeed, he is ready to go forth. He's no dolt.
I hate this one. Two-faced bullshit that he approves is good. Fucking asshole.
That's humility.
No, because humility is from the master. He's pointing out it's like a dolt that he doesn't contradict me, and we'll point out this out later when he values the contradictions from another student. But my point is, like a dolt. But after he withdraws, when I survey his personal conduct, indeed he is ready to go forth. He's no dolt. Because what he's doing is he's giving the two-faced, and he's saying that he does understand, he just doesn't want to contradict me because he respects me too much. And that's not a good thing, because if you respect somebody, you should tell them the truth, even when they're saying something wrong. You should.
Oh, well, we're talking about East Asia here, Jack. It's a little bit different.
I know this, but he contradicts himself later, and that's why I'm pointing it out now, because it bugs me that he points this as positive. He's right. If you want to kiss ass and potentially get a couple of steps up on the ladder of life and be a little bit more self-interested, you can do the things that he's talking about. But when it comes right down to it, if you honestly respected him, you would treat him more like Ran than Hugh.
But here's the other thing. The other thing you can draw from this is Confucius is looking at his behavior and is seeing that his behavior is consistent with how his behavior should be in court.
And his behavior
and during
is
court.
That's the part I'll disagree with you on, only in a distinction. They're behaving as he believes Junzi should behave. Other than that, I agree. Because that's not just court. Right. That's not just a court distinction.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, his behavior is in accordance to the niceties and the behaviors that is responsible for you speaking to anybody in
like
the
I said,
upper echelon
like I
of
said, I
society.
wasn't disagreeing, just making the distinction that it applied outside of just court. But other than that, yeah, you're right. No, and I could give you that. I could give you that, but I still don't like it because he contradicts himself later.
I know you don't like it. I know you don't like it, but it is normal thought process here.
I know, which is why I don't like it, because I know how it got corrupted. Like, on its face, this doesn't bother me. It bothers me because I know what it created. Sorry. And right, you do too, as you get smiled at by that fucking asshole pretending he doesn't understand your fucking Japanese.
Yan Hui, what is it? Confucius' most celebrated disciple. He is pictured in the Analects in sage-like ways, but dies before Confucius, to the master's dismay.
Yes, and to me, I will point out, that's partially why some of these, I think, are later editions rather than early writings. I think these are like copies of copies of copies that we have, because this feels like a later interpretation of Hui, and I still call him Hui because the Northern Chinese dialect. Sorry, it's what I learned. The way he talks about Hui, he talks about him as a reverent dead, even in the early points when he's not.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but that's how it reads to me. Because to me, he's no dolt. He was a dolt. And then he showed you that he wasn't. He was a dolt for not contradicting you in a way that would bring it to your attention that he knew that you were wrong, but in a respectful way. But he was a dolt that he could practice. He was not a dolt that he could practice it on others. That to me is showing the juxtaposition of don't let respect go too far, but still remain respectful. That gets colored by the later interpretation of his death, and gets left out because of it.
Ancom, do you got anything to add?
Not on this one, no. I think you both pretty much covered it.
Oh, last thing I'll point out: celebrated disciple is a loose term. I would call him adopted son more accurately.
Probably. That's yeah.
So, but that's again, for Asian cultures, you instantly understand. For Western cultures, you're never going to get it. Sorry.
Yeah. He basically is the third parent.
Yeah.
Confucius is his third parent.
Yeah.
Third parent status happens. What is it in East Asia a lot, especially in China, Korea, and Japan. Even here, so, as an example, if somebody does something bad here and the police are going to do a report, they're going to talk to both of the parents, and then the student's homeroom teacher are going to be interviewed and grilled almost like the parents.
If not their homeroom teacher, going back to slightly older time periods, your master for your apprenticeship, your employer, blah, 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 blah. The person who you spend the most time with other than your parents, usually.
Right, but when we're actually talking about, like, even in the modern day right now, that's exactly the three people that the police will interview, and the interview will be like almost exactly the same between the three.
The only minor distinction is the master will be asked less intimate phrased questions, but almost the same exact questions. Like the only difference will be the wording.
Yeah.
And then I know. Don't remember.
You're
who's
up for 210.
I think I am.
You're after me, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I will just point out one last thing. When we say adopted son, this is probably the person that Confucius wanted to hand his school off to when he died. So more direct successor would be also a good translation.
Yeah.
The master said...
2.10? Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking me.
The master said, Look at the means he employs. Observe the source of his conduct. Examine what gives him comfort. Where can he hide? Where can he hide? For idiomatic phrasing, this is accurate.
Was that Ancom supposed to read?
I thought you said I was after you, so I just went. I didn't remember the order.
Yeah, Jack, you are after me. Never mind.
Okay, so
that's right.
Now I will say idiomatically, this is translated correctly as where you can hide, or where can he hide. But culturally, I think this is inaccurate because the phrasing implies something from folklore that isn't implied in the wording here. Where can he hide himself? Because they consider your inner self a separate being from your outer being. It's weird conceptualization in Eastern culture. This is where can you hide from yourself and where can you hide yourself? Because you never let but one person into this most intimate self. Not your mate. Not even your kids get to see this. So there's more to it than just where can he hide all the other stuff that's being talked about. That implication's there as well. And I wouldn't know how to translate it better to put that implication in there. Despy, maybe you could figure that one out. But
what the where can he hides?
Well, because in this it implies the conduct.
You literally could translate who can he hide from, and can he hide from himself?
Yeah, that would work. It doesn't translate to what was said correctly, but it translates the intent better. Yes, that would be better. And this is just an Eastern culture thing. Sorry, guys. Like, Asia's weird. We got to explain some of this shit because you guys don't think like this because you weren't raised on these fucking folklore. Like, sorry. And Despy only knows it because he's lived in fucking Asia for over a decade. I know it because, well, I'm a nerd and like mythology.
Well, it's going to be a decade and a half this year.
Getting old, man. Okay, so now the last thing that I'll bring up before we go on to the side, because there's really not... I'll let you on a second, Pup. The last thing I'll bring up before we go on to the side note, what he is talking about here is observe the sources of his conduct, examine what gives him comfort. Examine the sources of his conduct is kind of a misnomer. The way this should be read, in my opinion, is behavior or observe the quality of his actions, because the sources of his conduct and the quality of his actions are one and the same in Asian cultures. To to Western cultures, we consider them isolated things. They don't over there.
Yeah.
And
the other thing is examine what gives him comfort. Examine what gives him comfort is not only talking about things that, in essence, would make somebody comfortable in the sense of, like, let's say sitting in a chair is making you comfortable. This could also be that if somebody irritates you, lashing out at somebody could be something that is a comfort to yourself, even though you're causing discomfort to somebody else.
Oh,
and
good
this
point.
is another thing where he's talking about with this comfort.
Yeah. So for example, well, I was going to say, for example, at this time period, there is a rather cruel king in the northern portions of China who is known for, in his anger, for lashing his mules. And taking out his anger on his mules rather than his subject. He is still considered just as bad of a ruler as the one who hits his subjects.
Right. Yep. I mean, the other thing is that certain despicable actions of Joffrey in King of Thrones would be considered comforts for that person there.
Yes.
And, like, this is another thing when he's saying, like, what gives him comfort. He's not just talking about, like, what makes him feel at ease. It's also what makes him, what does he do to make himself feel better?
Yes. And this is important because it is very easy and very common in this culture for somebody to express a face to you that you will read as honest and genuine that is absolutely not the person they are. Their actions very rarely are able to hide such things, is what he's trying to express here. And anybody who doesn't understand that in modern times, god damn, I wish I had your childhood. Just saying, you grew up in one hell of a protected household.
All right, read the note.
Note the resemblance in thinking to 1.11 and 2.9. The Analects is concerned with the art of reading character from conduct. I wouldn't say art, I would say practice, because art it implies a level of thing that in Asian cultures it doesn't that it doesn't in Western, or that it does in Western, I should say. This is a skill. This is not an art. Art implies a level of creativity and inspiration. This is literally a skill set that you are to learn, much like hammering out metal to make a nail. I wouldn't call making a nail an art. It is a skill. It is a craft. And I think we romanticize it in Western language here a bit, personally.
Well, I would say making a nail for a roof is a skill. Making a nail for a sarcophagus for an emperor, that is a fucking art.
I would disagree, but that's a quibble that doesn't really matter here. I would argue, but that's not that only minutely. We'll get to that later. And I will want to get back, but just because Western thought of art and Eastern thought of art is different. Art is a ubiquitous synonymous term with skill in Asia. It is not in Western culture, yet people tend to use it ubiquitously and therefore elevate certain things to an almost mystical level as opposed to practical level. And that's where I think this has happened here as well, is all I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Because to them, they understand the use cases based on the context clues. Because we are reading the translation, we don't have those in context, pictographic in context clues that they have.
All right, Ancom, I think you're up next, unless you have something to add.
Nope.
2.11.
All right. The master said, "A person who can bring new warmth to the old while understanding the new is worthy to take as a teacher." I actually really like this one because I feel like this is like...
And it's one of the very few that has never been misinterpreted.
Fair. I mean, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's, I'm having trouble finding words to clarify or expand on it because it's just said so well.
The only thing I will change from teacher to role model. I know that seems like a distinction without a difference, but it should be.
I mean, no, teacher
in the context of the time period.
In modern time period, we need to make the distinction.
In the modern context, the word teacher has a formalized connotation, whereas role model is a little bit more loose.
Yeah,
and I think that actually is a distinction here that does does matter when reading it from the perspective of our culture.
Yeah. Just because, and the last thing I'll point out. You should respect your fucking teachers more, you Western pricks. Stop fucking giving them hell. Their job's hard enough. Sorry. Go on.
And pay them more.
Well, I'm talking to the students. The students don't have any control over how much they're paid.
Right. Fight for your teachers to get paid more.
Yes.
Your classes will be a lot more fun.
Well, and make sure that you don't make their job harder. Try to make their job easier, because how many other assholes aren't? My soapbox
Alright.
is gone for now.
Okay. Next, 212. The master said, the Junzi is not a vessel. And the thing we need to keep in mind, I'm going to read directly into the notes. Vessel, what is it? Connotes limited capacity, fit for designated uses. This passage is often to be the background for 5-4.
And that's connotes, by the way.
Connotes? Okay.
Connotation, connotes.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Now I will say this. I disagree with this because I think this is a misunderstanding of what Confucius meant because of when Western thought got a hold of trying to interpret it. In this one is not a vessel, I think should have been translated because of the cultural implication of not a divine vessel.
Okay.
Oh, see, I was taking this in the opposite direction. Like I was taking vessel to be like in a modern context, we might colloquialize this as like a robot.
Yeah.
That too.
No.
Well, by the way, that's very much how they kind of think about their gods in a way too. Their gods are kind of they're going to do the same thing every fucking time. So that's not too far off. But more what I was getting at is, a Junzi is a Junzi only as long as they remain a Junzi is what this is getting at. It's they are a vessel. They are not a vessel as in a yardstick. They are only a Junzi as long as they remain conducive to the community and ethical in their practices.
And the other thing is that another thing this is trying to say is don't to make a Junzi a cog in a machine when it should be a lever.
Again, yes, accurate. And that's why I say I think the divine vessel is accurate because that is how they use divine vessels as those cogs, as those stopgaps.
Right.
And Junzi are meant to be more fluid than that. They are meant to be your water. They are meant to be literally the thing that spins your water wheel that grinds your wheat. They're meant to be that universal. So I think this is just a cultural issue, and I'd add a word that was not said in the time period. This would be big fucking parentheses around this word added into the text that I think makes it understandable to modern thinking.
All right, we're up to 12 or 213.
Yes. Okay. So, small footnote: Zigong, one of my favorite pupils. Zigong asked about the Junzi. The master said, "One who first tries out a precept and only after follows it." So the reason
there has never been a more succinct or accurate description of an autistic person in my goddamn life.
Yes and no. Yes and no. God damn it. Fucked up what I was gonna say.
Well,
you're right. You're right. No, you're right. But
I read slightly ahead, and I was tempted to be like, "Oh, I want to read this one."
Okay.
He's out of line, but he's right.
So no, but what I was trying to get at is, you do not try to teach something to someone that you have not done yourself. Is what this is also teaching.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I have only learned how to fold a kite from a book, and I've never folded a kite around the sticks and attached a string to it and floated in the air, I have no idea how to make a fucking kite, and I shouldn't be teaching people, is also what this is talking about.
Yeah.
Do not speak on which you do not know.
Yep.
But Ancom fucked me up with the autistic thing, because he's also right about that. But yeah, that's what this is. For example, I am very good at cooking. If I have never cooked something, I can probably get it right, like the first time. I'm pretty good at like kind of improvising my way through shit and getting through. But I can't teach you how to do it at that point. I'm just a fraud. Like if I've never done it before, if I've never made hero meat, I can't teach you how to spice and make hero meat. I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's the same precept here, just more broadly. And he is saying that is who a Junzi is. Junzi, remember, is the ethical, ideal community leader or member, depending on context.
Yeah. This is the ideological, what is it? If you were looking for the ideal person for your community, this would be the ideal person for your community.
For whatever it is you're looking. If you're looking for a miller, this would be the ideal miller. If you're looking for a fucking cop, this is the ideal cop. If you're looking for a guy to fucking be your daycare guy, he's your best daycare guy. So on and so forth.
Yep.
And we're being flippant
Ancom.
for brevity, but it is much more important than we're making it. Just do understand that this is almost held in reverence, and then we can go.
Yeah, you get to read the one Ancom that they're one of the ones that people try to use to make their own Confucius quotes. Is the next one.
Oh, this ought to be good. The master said, the Junzi is inclusive and not a partisan. The small man is a partisan and not inclusive. Oh, I like that.
Yes, what you have to take though, the way this is viewed is also semi-ironic, because he doesn't say what a good leader is. Sometimes, unfortunately,
well, I also want to point out that
I'm just going to say Confucius is going to contradict himself later. Is all I'm going to get at.
He already did. The very existence of this phrase is itself a contradiction, because he's saying the Junzi is inclusive and not a partisan, and then he goes and does a partisan, non-inclusive thing by calling someone a small man. Like,
no, he's not, because he is not bringing up any individual. He's not bringing up. You got to remember, culture, context matters in Asian language. Because he is speaking in abstract, he is just as much speaking about a god who can be petty as a fucking anyone else. He is not speaking about this in a partisan way. He is telling you the difference between what makes somebody good or bad. He's not being partisan himself.
Also,
okay,
read the footnotes when he talks about the small man.
The term
That's why I
small
said
man
petty.
sometimes the term small man, sometimes rendered as petty person, denotes someone of narrow ethical vision. The connotation of the term is configured by contrast with the term Junzi.
That's what, yeah. So, for example, if Confucius, for example, in the same exact thing, a small man like Ken Ham is blank. Now he has been a prick and fucked himself. But because he speaks about it in the abstract, he is just showing you the juxtaposition. That's it.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. Like anywhere, if he had mentioned any name, even his own, he would have fucked himself in this with Asian language. Yeah. Just so you know, like, that's why it feels weird to us, because to us, this is how we would obfuscate that we're being a condescending prick to somebody. To him, he means this genuinely.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, because for those of you who don't understand, partisan in this time isn't like we think of it today. More like we think of it today than in more recent times. But in this time period, partisanship is like deciding between the children who might succeed if there's not a clear line of succession in your area type thing, and sowing discord. Like there's a lot that goes into this in this time period that's kind of baked in, that would imply the death of your community or potentially the death of your immediate family.
Partisan, and this also means is like if we're talking about the like a community as a whole, you're only helping the people that make it more advantageous for you. Those are the only people that you're helping within the community.
Yes, because for example, and this isn't a good thing, so don't take this as advocation, it's just an explanation. In this time period, when old rulers would die, it was not uncommon for the successor child to kill all of his brothers and sisters and their families. That was not considered a bad thing for the community because it removed competition and potential confusion.
Yep.
Cohesiveness has its fucking enemies, and vileness, people. Don't get it twisted. Cohesiveness isn't all it's cracked up to be all the time. It was not uncommon for certain less reputable leaders to go very much Lion King on a motherfucker.
Yep.
So,
all right.
By the way, they weren't always considered non-Gen Z for doing so, which is fucking wild to me.
Right, 215, the master said, if you study but don't reflect, you'll be lost. If you reflect but don't study, you'll get into trouble.
I disagree with the statement, but only because of modernity. Modernity makes this not as much true, but yes. Go
on. So there isn't a
No. I was saying going on for your commentary on it.
Oh, I thought you meant to like go for a note. I was like, there isn't a note for this one.
No. Okay, so my commentary on this is only true at a time period where quite literally not doing your job results in your death. And I don't mean like I can't work, I don't have money type thing. I mean like you don't do your job, like quite literally you could die because like your job was to make sure that the trees were cut back so that the forest fire doesn't take out the whole blah 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 blah. Like this is there's implications to this that no longer hold as true through modern times, and I think a revision to this: if you study but don't reflect, you will be lost. If you reflect but don't study, you will be useless. Would be the more accurate.
Well, I look at it like this, okay? If you are learning to fly a plane and you study and you don't reflect on the problems that you had in the simulator, and you try to get into the plane to an actual plane to fly, you might have issues like getting it started, getting it up there, getting everything all going. In the same respect, if you look at everything that was done, but you don't learn from any of it,
and you just see I'm with you. I'm just pointing out that modernity changes the implication from trouble to useless. Is the implication. Because we understand what they only had to intimate through cultural implication. We understand that if you are useless to a community, you become trouble to a community.
Yeah.
But the real failing is you are useless. It's not, and here's the thing. When I say useless, this is not me going all fucking corpo, fucking dipshit. You have to. No, I mean useful to your community. Like, you could be a fucking complete fucking idiot who couldn't add 2 + 2, but you're the fucking best daycare fucking person on the planet. Like, useful is not a finite term.
All these cultures here needed honey dippers. Okay, I'm just saying.
That's what I'm pointing out. This is pointing to useless idleness would be the more refined way of pinpointing this down, is what this is pointing to.
Yeah.
You will become a wastrel of thought. There, to put it poetically.
I feel like, and maybe this is something we covered in book 1. The word study is more expansive than our modern academic
Studied and
or
learned. The
connotation,
difference between studied and learned. Yeah. The studied individual
Yeah.
would be conversely to how we kind of use it today. The person who is both read and practiced. A learned individual is the book smart dickhead.
Okay, all right. And then this reflect but don't study. I'm actually having trouble envisioning what such a person might look like in
Aristotle.
any sense, but particularly modern
Aristotle.
sense.
Aristotle later
See,
in
I
life.
always
He was not
I
studying.
figured
No, he was not studying later in life. He actually got to the point where he only taught and did not learn from new people. It's one of his failings in later life. That's kind of why I'm pointing to. Not his entire life, because obviously very studied individual with the way that even by the Asian meaning of the word. But later in life he stopped learning and he became. That's why when you look at the combativeness between Plato and Aristotle's the argument, the argument becomes stale on Aristotle's side and dynamic on Plato's side, even though Plato's completely fucking wrong.
The other way to look at it is if you look at study as should do and reflect as what you should look out for. If you use them in that context, it makes it a little bit more easier to understand. So if you, do what you should do, but you don't look at what you should look out for, you'll be lost. If you look what you should look out for, but you're not doing what you should be doing, you'll get into trouble.
Yeah, that's another good one. Yeah. Because again, it changes with period, contextual evaluation, implication, etc. But that's why this is important to dissect in the way that we're doing.
All right, and I get 16. Looks like.
Yep, this one. Good luck. But
all right, the master said, one who sets to work on a different strand does damage.
Fucking hyper collect.
Okay, I'll read the notes
this
for this one.
like-
A vague but much cited passage that seems to give teamwork priority over individual initiative.
Yes, because what it fails to take into account is what that fucking word means. If you start work on a different strand,
Which word?
Strand, because it should be thread, is more accurate to what it means in context to the way the word should be used. Because even it is literally strand, but in context of the sentence, it should be viewed as thread, since a thread is a strand. Asian cultures and Asian languages don't try to make sense of it.
That's fine, but in this case, what
the reason because
even if we take it as thread, what part of the metaphor is
because this would indicate going to an entirely different loom, not just a different task. You're now working at a different cross purpose, not a different avenue towards the same purpose. It changes the meaning entirely when you view it from the folklore of Asia, where threads, in this case, loomed threads, are very much viewed as independent entities, where a strand can be one among many. Despy, unless you can come up with a better way to say it. Because you know what I'm pointing to, but I may be wording it badly.
Yeah, this is just poetic language to basically say, if your team is working on something, work on it with your team. Don't do your own shit while your team is working on something.
Yeah, it's not saying you can't be individual. It's saying don't be a hindrance to your community. There's a difference between these two things.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's why I get upset. Little red book, you motherfucker. I'd burn every last one of you with this page. Because this is one of the ones that is used by the CCP to say, obey the party.
Yep.
Sorry. So, by the way, if you're ever dealing with first generation Chinese immigrants and you hear their parents say something to them like the strand against or something like that in a very brief way, this is the thing they're pointing to, and they're fucking chastising their kid. Go give that kid a hug when the parents leave. Sorry.
And buy that kid a drink when the parents die.
Potentially. I won't go that far because you and I both know how fucking complicated Asian fucking families can get. But at least that day he needs a hug.
And possibly a drink.
Yeah.
The Junzi would give that kid a hug, is what you're saying.
Yeah. You just need to go give that kid a hug and a fucking pat and fucking make sure he's all right because his dad was just a dick.
Yep.
Okay, so
all right, looks like Jack's up.
The reason I will point out one last time, this one is extremely damaging because of the misinterpretation of later period. When Confucius said this, it was very, very easily understood. It was not until hundreds of years later this was fucked up. So, like, this is not one I can actually blame Confucius for.
Hey, I wonder, are there any other books like that where, you know, something was understood in the time period and then fucked up like centuries later?
Yeah, and that's why
I blame
any
other religious books that have
that's
that?
why I blame the assholes who do the fucked up shit now, not the guy who wrote it down. Now that one it just bugs me because it has been so misused, and I won't even bring up a parallel because we'll get on a digression if I do. Just know that I have this smoke for any fucking culture that does this, that uses this as hypocrisy. So trust me, I got E for everyone. We're good.
Yeah.
Yep. 217. The master said.
Oh, wait, hold on. You just did the last one, didn't you?
No, he did. I just got upset about it.
I did the last one.
Wait,
Did we skip over you?
216.
well, no, I think someone did double because I did 214, then I thought Despy did 215, then Jack did 216.
Oh, then it's you.
Oh yeah, then we must have switched up in the middle and didn't even realize it because we were talking. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Fair enough. The master said, "Shall I teach you about knowledge, yo? To know when you know something, and to know when you don't know, that's knowledge."
Yes, and to put this in a Western centric comment, all that I know is that I know nothing. To put it in a quote that you will understand from Western thought.
Yeah.
For the kids.
And like this gets into, you know, the concept of known knowns, known unknowns, unknown knowns, and then unknown unknowns. You know, basically it's knowing where your limitations are.
Yeah, but the other thing is that I've also heard this exact same thing. Like, they wrote knowledge here. I've heard it been used as wisdom. I teach you wisdom, and then to know when you know something, and to know when you don't know. That's wisdom.
I would disagree with that.
Don't make me get into the knowledge versus or the intelligence versus wisdom D&D trope.
Well, no. What I'm getting at on this one is I don't think that's accurate just because of the way that Eastern thought thinks about wisdom. I think that's a way that they translated it to try and make it make sense to Western minds. For me, knowledge works. At most, I would be, instead of wisdom or knowledge, if I was going to change it to anything else, I would say that's understanding. That would be the only word I would change it to.
Yeah.
Because the way that wisdom's implications in Asian culture, there's good wisdom and bad wisdom, and this is a difference of understanding.
Yep.
Just because personally, the second you said that, I'm like, yeah, I've seen that too, and it never felt right. It just doesn't feel right to the way they think of that word.
All right. You want to read the note?
Yep. Well, I will just point out one last thing. This, in my opinion, when he says, "Shall I teach you about knowledge?" I think in this particular context, if I'm remembering my history on this correctly, this is coming right after the earthquake early on in the school. And I think he's trying to teach them during the rebuilding process. I think that context matters.
Possibly, but also the note matters at the same time.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there now. You as the personal. Sorry. Habit. because we switched it after Despy the one time.
Okay. Yo is the personal name of the disciple Zilu, the most senior of the long-standing disciples. Zilu is depicted as a man of military temper and self-assurance. I'm a little confused what is meant by military temper.
Extreme stoicism.
Okay.
Even in this time,
I've seen a lot of different tempers in military people.
But the point that I'll point into here that I disagree with the translator: self-assurance, overconfidence is the more accurate term that should have been put there. He is a very senior disciple. He is a very well-studied disciple, but he is also overconfident in his abilities. He gets chastised about it. I think overconfident rather than self-assurance, because self-assurance without good temper is always a bad thing. And military temper, I wouldn't say is a good temper for that kind of self-assurance. Let's just be honest.
All right. So am I next then?
Yes.
At this point, it would be yes.
Okay. So Wei Zheng wanted to learn how to seek a salaried appointment. The master said, if you listen to much, put aside what seems doubtful, and assert the remainder with care. Your mistakes will be few. If you observe much, put aside what seems dangerous, and act upon the remainder with care. Your regrets will be few. Few mistakes in speech, few regrets in action. A salary lies therein.
Okay. Lot to dissect in this one because of the cultural implications. So the only thing that, because of the way you kind of halted in the way that you said this, the sentence, it kind of, in my opinion, changed the meaning. If you observe much, put aside what seems dangerous, and act upon the remainder with care. Your regrets will be few. In this one, when you halted for a brief second on that comma, it made it seem more like a warning as opposed to a you're on the right track. Because in this case, he's talking to you, Wei Zheng. He's talking to Wei Zheng about employment. And through that employment, the salary of knowledge is more important than the salary you gain through employment, is what he's getting at here. And that's only implied. 1 second. I got to go help my wife. I just had a toy thrown at me. 1 second.
No problem. My main thing with this is that you should, what is it? I don't want to say use Occam's razor, but basically, when evaluating things, make sure that what is it? You're using common sense.
Okay. Sorry, where I was going, because of the thing is he's talking about employment, but this is where was I going with this? Shit, the interruption just fucked my head up. I'll remember it later in a minute. Never mind. Go ahead and talk for a second.
All right, no problem. Ancom, what did you get out of this?
it was complex. I'm like, there's okay, break it down piece by piece, I guess. So someone's asking, how can I get a good job? Basically, that's what I'm taking by salaried appointment, because like trying to get a good job. And Confucius is saying, if you hear many things and put aside what seems doubtful and pass on the rest carefully, your mistakes will be. So, general life advice, hear much, believe little.
What is that?
Mhm.
It's hear much, believe little, and share even less, or something like that. I don't remember the exact saying,
Yeah.
but I feel like it's basically what's being said here. And and then it kind of says the same thing again. If you observe much, put aside what seems dangerous, and act upon the remainder with care, your regrets will be few. So basically, one is using the metaphor of hearing, the other seems to putting more using the metaphor of sight, or observe, I guess, could be all the senses, but generally speaking, I think it's used in the context of sight. Either way,
I've got a great.
he's used. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead and finish your thought. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I interrupted you.
all good. He's basically he's saying the same thing twice in slightly different ways, and then he finishes it off. If you make few mistakes and you have few regrets, a salary lies therein. Salary here, being in a different sense than what the student was initially asking, is like, how do I get a good job? And Confucius is like, if you make few mistakes and you have few regrets, your life will be rich in in
That I think you're bringing a
colloquial or
little modern
metaphorical.
into that. I think you're bringing a little modern into that
I
because
probably am. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just saying salaried appointment in this time is stationary job. It would be more accurate because as a teacher, teachers tended to travel more in this time period, and that, like, as we see, Confucius travels and talks to these people and does this stuff.
Mhm.
So what he is looking for is, at least from the context that I get, is he's looking for essentially house teacher,
Yeah.
for lack of a better way, a more brief way of saying it.
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna quote the scene from one of my favorite movies that absolutely applies from this, and it's from the movie. What is it? What is it? My Name Is Nobody. Okay, and the quote is. Not everybody throwing dirt on you is trying to help you, and not everybody pulling you out of a jam. Not everybody throwing dirt on you is trying to hurt you. Not anybody pulling you out of a jam is trying to help you. But when you're up to your neck in shit, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. Now the other thing, the final line, the dualistic meaning with the way that Confucius is saying this. The salary is in keeping your own confidences as well. That is part of your salary. Your salary is partly the burden. It, as much as he's telling him, eat the shit and keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Because in this time period, a salaried position, that's the only way you get it. Traveling teachers got a lot more leeway because they were moving through cultures. They were moving between places and peoples, and they were a not disconnected entity, but more fluid entity than a standard community member.
Yep.
Yeah, detached doesn't feel right. I don't know what the term would be. Butterfly. Well, no, more like a butterfly, type of, the original meaning of social butterfly, before we changed it in modern times. Like They were the ones who pollinated
I
communities
got
with
one.
ideas.
We could say transient.
No, that would be accurate, just with the unfortunate negative modern connotation. But no,
How about you could just say that you need to be a dilettante.
yeah. Here would be a great way to distinguish between the two. Wei Zheng wants to be a resident teacher. The other wants to be a transient teacher. Yeah, that would work.
Yep. All right. So I did this
218.
here, and it says Yi Zhang was one of the junior disciples. This passage may be compared to 15.32.
And we are not going to get to that for several weeks. I'm not scrolling ahead, but I'll just get to the point. It's just using it as another comparison to another one where he's basically giving the same advice in a more complex and less easily interpretable way, where he is comparing it to a wheat field. So, just
Right.
to give you a brief run on. Okay. Oh, this asshole. Duke I asked, "What should I do so that people will obey?" Confucius replied, "Raise up the straight and set them above the crooked, and the people will obey. Raise up the crooked and set them above the straight, and people will not obey." Duke I was a crooked prick, by the way. This was absolutely fucking Confucius telling him, "You can't, you're an idiot." And Duke I 100% knew what Confucius was saying, but couldn't do anything about it.
Yep. There's times where you'll find where he'll be literal in everything that he's saying, and there's other times that he is being, what is it, a facetious, condescending asshole.
Yep. Duke I, for brief history, like cucking his buddies and taking their wives and daughters and doing stuff that he shouldn't do in Chinese culture at this time. And on top of that, ran his fiefdom with very reckless monetary abandon, so on. Like he was as crooked as you get. He was the Joseph Smith of China. And I do mean that literally. He even tried to start his own religion. Yeah, I'm getting there. Duke I was a ruler of Confucius' home state of Lu. A number of Analects passages pictures Confucius advising or tutoring men of power. In many such passages, as always, these men are legitimate rulers. Confucius is referred to not as the master, but more formalized his family name Kongzi, Master Kong, and raising the straight over the crooked. Compare 12.12 and 12.12 basically just tells you what I just told you in a less vulgar way. Now the last thing I will point out, he said this in a room of 400 people. That matters.
Yeah.
This was a public admonishment of Duke I.
Right. But the other thing was it wasn't direct.
I know.
It wasn't a direct admonishment.
No, I agree.
Everybody in the room completely understood exactly what he was saying.
Well, I would hope so. Let's just say most in the room understood. I would hope, anyways. Right. Okay.
All right. And,
I don't have any more notes on 219. Okay, we're good.
All right. 2.20. Ji Kengzi asked, "How would it be use persuasion to make the people respectful and loyal?" The master said, "If you approach them with solemnity, they will be respectful. If you are filial and caring, they will be loyal. If you raise up the good and instruct those who lack ability, they will be persuaded."
Don't really have a whole lot to add here. This was not meant in a facetious tone, as far as I remember, and as far as I was able to read. The only thing that I will point out, I think it was I don't think he should have said filial here. I think he should have left the the untranslated term. It makes it make more sense.
Yep. Can you read the note for 220?
Yeah, which is weirdly long.
Yep.
In the state of Lu, real political power had fallen from the Duke's house into the hands of 3 senior patrician clans, of which the most powerful was the Ji family, whose leader is pictured in conversation with Confucius here. There are, in the great warlord families of this era, interesting similarities to outlaw networks of a later time in the West, such as the mafia families, although the warlord families differed in deriving their basic status from hereditary rights granted by rulers, and they were not outlawed. Indeed, they were held in awe. Warlord families like the Ji exercised informal control over regions, inducing obedience through the threat of force. They sustained gangs of armed retainers and high advisors with no lineage connection. Their behavior mixed emulation of patrician ethical and ritual codes with ruthlessness.
Yes. I will say this was not altogether out of the norm and did not lead to nearly as much of the kind of like civil unrest that we would expect from things like this in this time period, because this was actually an improvement from the previous time period.
Yeah.
Like just to make that make a little more sense.
All right. 2.21. Someone addressed Confucius, saying, "Why do you not engage in government?" The master said, "The document says, filial merely be filial, and friends to brothers young and old. To apply this as one's governance is also to engage in government. Why must there be some purposeful effort to engage in governance?"
Okay, again, he should have left it Zhao, because filial merely be filial. Like Zhao merely be filial would be more accurate because it shows the delineation of the way they're using the word in this case.
Yeah.
Other than that, no other notes. Like it's pretty self-explanatory after that.
Yep.
And
then
anything?
what is it, the document?
What was that?
Anything on this one, Income, before we go to the note?
221. Before I read the notes.
No, go ahead.
Right. The documents Shangshu is a collection of political texts, supposedly recordings of words of sage kings of the past from the legendary emperor Yao, Shun, and Yu to the founding rulers of the Zhou dynasty. It was treated by Confucians as a wisdom text.
The only thing I disagree with is the ordering, because it implies importance. Basically, reverse the order, the importance is then signified.
Yep. Okay.
But yeah, that note pretty much hits everything. I would have also potentially named a couple of the rulers like Qin, because he was quintessential to what Confucius viewed the ancient Zhao leaders of, but other than that, nothing else. Oh. The master said, 2.22. The master said, "A person without trustworthiness, who knows what he may do, a carriage without a yoke strap, a cart without a yoke hook, how can you drive them?" Again, I don't think we need to explain a whole lot here unless you don't know what a yoke is. Just saying.
Basically saying it without a yoke strap, that's like taking the steering wheel out of a car.
Yeah,
all you have is the column.
Unless you don't know what a yoke is, I don't really know what I have to add to this.
Yeah.
And there is no side note.
Yeah, and you know, a carriage without a yoke strap, a cart without a yoke hook, a car without a steering wheel and an axle, right?
Yeah,
basically
pretty
the same
much.
thing.
All right. And then, so, Ancom, I think you're 223.
Yep. Zicheng asked, or may one foretell 10 generations from now? The master said, the Yin dynasty adhered to the Li of the Jia dynasty. What they added and discarded can be known. The Zhao dynasty adhered to the Li of the Yin dynasty. What they added and discarded can be known. As for those who may follow after the Zhao, though 100 generations, we can foretell.
Sorry, Confucius, you were full of shit, but I like the sentiment. It was very pretty.
Like, he's trying to say that, like, we can tell what people will do from what people have done, and
he's not entirely wrong, but he's also full of shit because, again, as we pointed out, he's basing this on an understanding of a mythologized past.
Yeah. Like, I feel like this is Asimov's idea of psychohistory a couple millennia early.
More Einstein. If you knew every position particle, that's what he's trying to get at, is because we know everything of the past, we can know the future because we know how things interact, is what he's getting at. He's just wrong because he didn't know everything of the past that he thought he fucking knew. Which is funny because he didn't know all the things of the past that he thought he knew, yet he still called it right that they were going down the wrong path and going to follow in the footsteps of the shitty Zhao. He still called that right 100%.
This feels like an example of him not following his own idea from a few items ago. To know when you know something and know when you don't know, that's knowledge. I'm like, sorry, bud. Kind of skipped out on the not knowing what you don't know.
Well, in fairness to Kongzi, zero hadn't even been invented yet. Give the motherfucker a break. The number zero did not exist as a concept yet, Angom. He was doing a lot with what he had.
I mean, the concept of zero as a number may not have existed, but the concept of nothing certainly existed.
Yeah, I know, but my point is, this is so long ago. He predates the number zero. Come on. Okay, considering he got this close, he did okay.
All right.
Because you're right. He fell into the trap that too many of us fall into of confirmation bias. He was able to read so many things right for so long, he thought he knew all of the things of the past and therefore could foretell the future. And to a point, if you did know the position of every atom in the universe, you could potentially predict the future in ad nauseum. That being said, what he is getting at here...
Heisenberg says otherwise, but, you know.
I disagree with Heisenberg because when we look at the collapse of quantum... Damn it! Don't get me on that tangent.
No, you were the one who brought up the fucking tangent. I just corrected you.
No, you're not wrong, but you will get me on a tangent with that one because just because of what we've understood with the collapsing of quantum fields.
The best kind of correct.
Well, he's relativistically correct to be more accurate.
The best kind of correct.
But what I'm trying to get at, though, is he was able to foretell so many things, and he was right on so many things. He fell into the confirmation bias of he didn't know what he didn't know, and he didn't know what he can't know. Those things like what's in the heart of the person he's speaking to. He can have a good guess, he can't know for certain. So on and so forth. There is a lot of things that he built in with presuppositions like I can tell the contents of your mind by the character of your actions. That's not always true. We know that from group dynamics and cultural implication, all that plot. Like there are things that he presupposes into this that is only there because of the confirmation bias and the fact that it might take 6 months for somebody to correct his ass on something he said yesterday, because it takes that long for it to get from this town to that town and back. Yeah, at least that's how this feels.
Note there, income.
Oh yeah. In traditional history, the third of the great sage kings, Emperor Yu, was said to have founded a dynasty known as the Jia. After several centuries, it was displaced by the Yin ruling house, more commonly known as the Shang. The last Shang king was overthrown by the Zhao founding ruler, King Wu, in 1045 BCE.
Yeah. Now, the only thing that I will minorly push back on is he put it as founded a dynasty. A kingdom would be more accurate because it was the name of the place, not the family. Other than that, no other correction. Like that's such a minor correction.
That's interesting because that actually, like I always assume, because dynasties in the West are based on family names. So does that mean each of these dynasties was
I'm saying this is a mistranslation because in this case he's not known as the Jia. It's not the people that's known as the Jia. The place is known as Jia. He made a mistake, not it made a mistake. That's where
when it comes to dynastic periods,
because the people would be the Jiao, is all I was getting at.
When it comes to dynastic periods, usually the emperor or the family or whatnot chooses a name for that period, and it doesn't necessarily have to correlate with the family name.
Yes, but we're talking in this mystical one. It was assigned by an outside force, so that's why I'm a little more technical about it. That's all. But yes, you are right because there are fucking dynasties that have no fucking correlation to anything that we could draw this to because the fucking leader was an idiot or fucking psychotic, whichever you want to say.
Why not both?
True.
All right, we'll do the last one here. 224. The master said, "To sacrifice to spirits that do not belong to you is to be a toady." To see the right and not do it, and to see the right and to not do it.
It's clumsy in
English.
To lack
courage.
Yeah, it's clumsy in English.
It's super clumsy.
It's clumsy in English, but if I asked you to translate it, you couldn't do better. I looked at it. Yeah. It's really but the only thing I would have done is I would have added a comma after right, just to make it flow easier off the tongue.
Yeah, to see what is right and not do it is cowardice, is basically what they're saying.
Yes. The only thing that I will change here, and this is because I think this is a period translation error from a older translation where we use this word differently today. Fool instead of toady would be more accurate in this case.
Yeah.
Toady in that case implied foolishness. Toady today implies simperingness to a bigger bully. It's a different implication, older time period.
Yeah. See, I took toady to be more like sycophant than to be dumbass.
Yeah. Whereas if you were to translate this more accurately based on context to today, how we use that term, they probably would have said fool instead of toady, translating it into English.
Nope. All right. So for the notes, people had the right and duty to sacrifice to their own ancestors only. Feudal lords had generally been granted the right and duty to sacrifice to regional natural spirits. Some lords aggrandized themselves by presuming to sacrificial rights they had not been granted.
Yes, and that's where this really comes in, because when people say sacrifice, they don't really remember that this is a time period where they burn sacrifices still. Like this is very
Where does the smoke go? let me ask you, where does the smoke go? The smoke goes into the heavens. Where do people reside in the afterlife? They reside in the heavens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard for people when we think of sacrifice. We think sacrifice to like, oh, our time, our energy, our lives, etc. In this, no, they mean burning shit on a fucking altar, just to
Yeah.
make this make
Right.
more sense.
Literally
to you.
burnt offerings.
Yep.
Yep.
And let me rephrase that. It's not always burnt offerings. Sometimes it's left to the wild. For example, there's certain I forget if it's temples or shrines where they will put the food out back of the building, and it basically food for all the wildlife in the area, etc. Because the only people who show up there basically maintain it and leave. They don't live there.
Oh, no, the whole thing is that a lot of times when you're leaving food, you're leaving it in a location usually near, around, or in front of a graveyard of some semblance.
That
And the
too,
whole
but yeah.
thing is that you're basically trying to give the ancestor, what is it, something that they held dear in their lifetime. So if they really enjoyed the rice from your family farm, and only the rice from your family farm, you would grow the rice. You would have a specific set of rice set aside that you would cook specifically for this person, and you would leave it out for them in front of their grave so that they could partake in something that they, what is it?
Well, there's that too. What I was
um,
pointing to was the previous animistic portions where the animal spirits would take it to their spirits in the afterlife. That part of the wilding, the rewilding of the
Oh,
foods.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just because this is so far back. This predates the cementation of it only being ancestors.
Right.
That's all. And for those of you who don't understand this, almost every single culture on the planet's religion started as animism, became ancestor worship, and then became something else later. It's not all of them, but it's fucking most of them. Like 93%.
All right. Anybody else have anything to add?
On this, I only have to add I don't think it's the lack courage in this because again, connotation of the way we mean this, honor would be the more
Yeah.
accurate way to translate this from their period to the way we mean it.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Yep.
again, that's a minor distinction just with the help of modernity to kind of draw that distinction. Other than that, he did okay on this one. Like it's really been little quibbles over words and a little thing of I don't think he's ever lived in Asia, so I think there's certain things that he misses like from the folklore because he doesn't hear it. He doesn't hear the kids like saying the rhymes as they're going down the street, avoiding that dark fucking river and blah 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 blah. Like he doesn't hear all that shit like you do.
Right. So Ancom, do you get anything else to add?
Nothing from my end, no.
Here's the hold on before we close out. Here's the more valuable thing to ask you on this one, Ancom, because while Despy and I are a little bit more familiar with this, you are essentially going through this like one of the students who will be going through it in the class. You have any questions?
Yeah. I mean, I asked pretty much all
I'm just making
questions.
Well, that's why I'm making sure
up,
just making sure.
Yeah.
Because
no, I don't have anything like I don't tend to retain questions, so I have to ask them in the moment. Otherwise, I will forget them. So when we're past here, when we're at this point, if I had any questions, chances are I've forgotten them.
It's fine. Well, it doesn't hurt to ask because might jog the memory. And like I said, as you are kind of going through this for the first time, you're going to be dealing with this a lot like the students. So you might have the same questions they have. It might help to answer.
Fair enough.
So.
All right. Well, with that said, we are going to be closing out book 2 here. You're going to definitely want to come back for book 3. Book 3 is probably one of the most important books to go over if you're studying the Analects, and it's going to be its own video. It might actually take 2
Bring
sessions.
your Excedrin.
Possibly even 3, depending on how many tangents we get on.
Nah, it's short enough where we're 2 at most. Like, even with our tangents, we've been flying through these. It's not like with Dante where we take 3 hours.
I'm kidding around.
I know.
I'm kidding around. So anyway,
book 7 on the other hand. Ooh, that one I reread it last night. Motherfucker, that shit might take us 4.
So anyway, we're gonna close out here, and I am Desperado Sensei.
I'm Jack.
And I'm Ancom. Have a good one.
And we'll see you later. Take care.
为之为 教，为正与烈性，别成有其所，雄心动之心，命心自负，立业切之心，为何之？中庸之道，系天下之至德，今人之迷信，不常看之人，小人凡事细，君子所为。人为心之根，系于乃心之刚。雄子修其身，是以安百姓养。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。其所不欲者，是无事于他人。水而思之兮，不亦明乎？思而学之兮，免于殆矣。有朋之远兮，冷漠大洋。人不知而无远兮，君子之福。视之为知行，为之为不忠，视之也行，圣人之教，为正与烈性，别成有其所，雄心动之心，命心自负，立业切之心，为何之？中庸之道，系天下之至德，今人之迷信，不常看之人，小人凡事细，君子所为。人为心之根，系于乃心之刚。雄子修其身，是以安百姓养。小体力其精细，中枢扩其量。其所 所不欲者兮，勿施于他人。水而思之兮，不亦明乎？洗而学之兮，免于殆矣。有朋之远兮，冷漠大言，人不知而无怨兮，君子之福。食之为知兮，为之为不知。食之有也兮，圣人之教。为政于列兮，别政有其所。雄心动之兮，民心自负。立言谢之兮，为何之？中庸之道兮，天下之至德。今人之明兮，不诚恳之人。小人反是兮，君子所为。人为心之根兮，义乃心之刚。兄子修其身兮，安百姓养。小体力其筋兮，中枢括其量。己所不欲者兮，勿施于他人。水而思之兮，不亦明乎？洗而学之兮，免于殆矣。有朋之远兮，冷漠大言，人不知而无怨兮，君子之福。食之为知兮。